There's weapons. Oh yeah. Swing it around. Yeah.
Cain slew Abel with a stone, so it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm prepared.
You know, Barone in training right now? You know why I'm
Is there somewhere we might be able to pull a few more chairs?
But that's been a long You know, ask and answer. That's gone through my mind a million times. Maintenance, you're functional. My mother taught me the words of the wisest. Why do I need to tell you? Don't bring down the head of this beer if you try and run. And then in my law
I think it's showtime.
So people get in here.
Okay.
And be patient.
That's how I go to 90 college. That's how I.
Okay. Call to order the Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, January 14, 2025. It's 6:30. Roll call.
Trustee Stewart.
Here.
Trustee Groth.
Here.
Trustee Clinton.
Here.
Trustee Buckley. Clerk Forba here. Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Here.
Supervisor Kermy.
Here.
All present, we have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, first item C, approval of the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, January 14th, 2025.
Second.
Second by Groth. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
So on the consent agenda, the one item I'd like to just introduce the people that are being appointed to the Board of Review. The Board of Review is the group of residents, citizens, who make a decision on your appeal of your taxable value. You will get a notice on about March 1st saying what your new taxable value is, and it goes up at inflation or a maximum of 5%. This year, I think it will be less than 5. So I'll introduce the people. Ed Snage, just stand up. You can say anything you want, or thank you for doing what you're doing.
We'll do another good year. The board wants to be fair to the township and the homeowners and the business owners. That's kind of our motto.
Yeah, it's kind of a cookbook, and follow the rules. People bring data.
We have a lot of data, and it makes our job and your review a lot easier. Pictures, anything you want, bring it. Everybody gets 10 minutes.
All right, thank you. Joe Van Esley?
Yes, not at all.
All right, great, thank you. Catherine Mahalik?
Thank you.
And we have an alternate. There's 3 people. We have an alternate in case someone's ill or for some reason cannot serve. Michael Carlin, is he here?
Good. You said Michael Carlin. I've been a resident since 1977, so what's that, 48 years. Navy veteran, retired from Ford Product Engineering. I worked on the ZBA board for 10 years. And I know about 3 of the board members here I've actually worked with. I've also worked as on the poll election committee, precinct 6 for about 10 years. So I'm interested in helping out wherever I can, and if you need me, I'm glad to fit in. Thank you.
Thank you all for serving. Hopefully you won't have a lot of business.
Mr. Supervisor, I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, January 14th, 2025.
Second.
Second by Buckley, and this will require a roll call. Supervisor Kermy,
Yes.
Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Buckley,
Yes.
Trustee Clinton,
Yes.
Trustee Grove,
Yes.
Trustee Supervisor.
Yes.
Motion
Yes.
carries unanimously.
Okay, now we reach public comment. It's limited to 3 minutes, and you will have 3 times to speak tonight. Once now, and then on non-agenda items is what our preference is, unless you have to leave. If we're going to talk about an agenda item, we're having a public hearing on sidewalks. So keep all sidewalk comments to when we have the official public hearing, which will be later in the meeting. So we can go with 3 minutes now, then you have another 3 minutes at the end of the meeting to speak on anything you wish also. You have a question?
No, Roman Benson for public comment, please.
You want to speak now?
Yes, please.
Please,
Yes.
come up to the podium, and if everyone could please sign in
Thank you.
and state your name for the record. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Good evening. My name is Roman Benson, and I am here this evening to formally put forward a verbal and a written request to ask this board to allow me to do a presentation at the next meeting to discuss the possibility, or maybe of revisiting, reopening, reconsidering, allowing our family business to open up a marijuana retail store in Plymouth Township. I am the official spokesperson. I represent 2 families, the Bensons and the Bielas. Both of these families have roots that began in Plymouth over 60 years ago and still today have and maintain a presence in the community by residing here and doing business here. We're no strangers to the marijuana community. We evolved from a medical marijuana clinic for the last 15 years with 3 physicians and slowly made the transition into recreational sales. I do understand this evening, and I'm aware, that the township has opted out of the program. I'm aware of that. As I previously stated, this would be a discussion for revisiting and taking another look at it, now that the program's become a little bit more seasoned. I've taken the liberty to provide each of you with a formal cover letter requesting a presentation for the next meeting, along with photos of the store in the communities we do business with, some client testimonials, etc., just to give you a feel of how we do business. Those communities, all 3 of them, originally did what you guys did. You opted out for various reasons, and people have their various reasons. However, with gentle persuasion, coaxing, and education, we were able to present to the board, to the community, the benefits of opening up a community store, and pretty much each store opted back in to allow us to open up 1 retail store. I'm proud to say this evening that each town operates with the highest integrity. We respect the community. We have a wonderful relationship with everyone, and pretty much we run a good shop. Plymouth being a community of businesses, large and small, trying to add to its economic growth, our goal is that purpose, adding to the economic growth. We're a small family business, family-owned, that wants to bring our style of operating a business to its community, serve the residents, and give them a friendly neighborhood to visit and satisfy their needs. I was advised by the office this would be the best way to do and ask for a presentation and reintroduce the idea to the entire board this evening. This is a public comment, me asking you to be put on the agenda for the next meeting. I know we can show you how to satisfy the needs of the community, but we also will be giving back through property tax revenues, license revenues, local hirings, and very generous stipends. Thank you, and I will eagerly await your response. Roman Benson.
Roman, how is Marta?
She's wonderful. Thank you for asking.
Good. Give her my love.
I absolutely will.
Marta's son, yes.
On the cover sheets, my direct line, please call anytime.
Anyone else? All right. Okay. Oh, all right.
I would like to request a point of personal privilege to exceed the 3-minute by about 15 seconds. If that's not acceptable to the board, fine, I will do what I can do in 3 minutes.
Okay,
That means yes,
for
I may
15
run over,
seconds, yep.
which means the chime will give me the 15 seconds. Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, citizens and board members. Political posturing in social media is not conducive to sound decision-making. It creates fear, doubt, and distrust in the minds of residents, businesses, future residents, visitors, insurance company, and even opportunities for trial lawyers. You only need to heed the words of Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook and Instagram, in his own words about mis and disinformation on this platform. This can and will lead to insurance rate increases, home sale decreases, value decreases, possible lawsuits, and even tax revenues falling. As a full-time professor, researcher, and clinician, I was hoping the board members would take the time to evaluate the roles and responsibilities. I was hoping not to take my time and over time engage in observing the actions of board members at sessions and in the public. As an evidence-based practitioner, I strongly suggest the following process be filed to address either a perceived or real concern with the public safety in the township of Plymouth. Triage the concern. A PICO question is a research question that uses the acronym PICO: population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. PICO questions have been used for years in business, medicine, and in the military. How do we look at a PICO question? We ask it, what are these calls about for our emergency services? Are they fire, police issues, or health issues? This is all part of the dispatch. Who handles dispatch? How you dispatch what you need to a site. You don't need a hook and ladder truck to a heart attack call. You don't need EMS to put out a garage fire. You don't need the police department to go to a slip and fall. So the first question is, what is the call about? Second question is, who should be sent? Who's the most qualified to show up for whatever the call is? I'm assuming that we have logs at the dispatch. I'm assuming we have logs with the ambulance service. I'm assuming you have logs. Somebody's billing somebody for their time. I've never heard not keeping logs. I keep records on every patient I see, verbose records. Lawyers do the same thing. So the next question is when? When should someone go to a site when there's a call? Who's closest? Who can be there quickest? And who has the skill set to address the problem? In order to have a transparent, evidence-based approach to this public concern, as it seems to be more and more of a concern in the social media world, I propose a 7-member Blue Ribbon Committee composed of 2 citizens, 1 to chair, with EBD experience. Secondly, Plymouth Township Treasurer. Sorry, Bob, but we need to know what the purse looks like when we start looking at things like this. The fire department, the police department, and whoever handles dispatch in this community. And including the ambulance service. The committee should report to the board regularly on its process, identify the question, identify the research methodology on gathering data, and findings should be returned to this board 1 year subsequent to the formation of this committee for discernment and decision-making on this process. I and many others are expecting informed decision-making by the board. Anecdotal commentaries are wonderful. I appreciate the pain and suffering of people that they have to go to, but that is not what's going to carry the day. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to all of you. That was not a setup, actually. I probably won't be able to stay for the whole meeting, so I wanted to make sure that it's in our forefront as we proceed into 2025. The fire department, separate from the ambulance issue. That's a separate issue in my mind because our fire department is not functioning at premium optimum levels. And I'm wondering where we're going with this. It's been a month. I would love to be a part of any group that forms to discuss this further, but I just wanted it on record that I'm watching still and the fire department depends on us. Thank you so much. I did say it. Oh, sorry, I'm Chuck Hamilton.
Mary Pine, congrats and appreciation to Supervisor Kermey for the positive, respectful, intelligent, collegial, but firm, well-thought-out leadership demonstrated at his first board meeting as supervisor. He understood the implications of the dominant election results and the mandate of voters. Look out for the township residents. Mentioning the election, the clerk took an inordinate amount of time on largely redundant charts, throwing numbers in the air in an apparent attempt to justify his $50,000 with a conflict of interest spend on the early voting center, along with touting several controversial employees. Contrary to the voters' mandate, a trustee appeared to be taking up the losing supervisor's cause of the firemen with one-sided, quickly assembled, unverified data, urging an immediate decision with no support of a study. That is not prudent. Later, this trustee, Jen Buckley, put out a video telling residents that this was such a long meeting that she would review the meeting for them. She also favorably mentioned the prior administration. This reminds me of the con an older neighbor boy played on one of my sons and his friend. He would take their money and the list for the drugstore and go buy the items for them. You can guess how that worked out. Please come to or watch board meetings live or on YouTube. Do your own research, listen to prior board meetings, get many forms of information. Don't be conned. Life is a balance, as we all know. Remember, Jerry Vorva and Jen Buckley pushed the Northville Downs, and now there's a $10 million lawsuit. Evaluate people's judgment. Neither of them did the research on PUDs with Michigan law MCL section 125.35039. Final approval may be granted if it contains necessary components to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the surrounding area. In Northville Downs versus Granholm Cox, 9/27/2010, U.S. Circuit Court Judge Merrill states, gambling may be outlawed altogether as a vice that is a threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Shouldn't Kurt Heisey have been aware of these similar revealing statements? Also, at the last meeting, the fire chief confirmed Kurt Heisey's strategy of using the fire department in his failed bid for supervisor. When I told him that the firemen had been used as pawns, he replied, "What could I do? He was my boss." Paraphrase pertinent Blue Bloods quote, "These aren't the times that test men's character, these are the times that reveal it." Dignity needs to be restored to the title of trustee. Wearing firemen's t-shirts on social media proclaim a lack of sound, unbiased judgment, making one appear unprofessional as if a cheerleader, not an advocate for the residents. There needs to be an end to immature social media postings. Kurt Heisey lost. He and others need to accept this with dignity. Postings of bitter lawn service contractors add no value. Importantly, as professionals, the firemen diminish themselves by getting involved in politics and lobbying on social media. Can they not make a strong case in the proper manner? Do so. One more sentence. Residents, please wait for an unbiased study with facts and don't fall for the con of immature, chaotic, divisive, self-serving comments designed to manipulate and divide our community. Thank you.
My name is Jim Buzlenka. I'm really surprised to be here. And I had no intention of speaking about, but one of the previous speakers talked about marijuana. I couldn't help but want to comment on that. To our north, about 15 years ago, Ontario decided to legalize marijuana. And they expected to achieve about $5 billion in tax revenue from the sale of marijuana. Well, after several years, they were only getting about 1 million. And the reason is that the users of marijuana weren't satisfied with the 10% THC that the provincial government set as a limit. So the people in a pinch might go to their marijuana store and get 10%, but they much, much preferred to get the marijuana with a much higher THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana. Today, through hybridization and development, the THC content has exploded. I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's well above 25. It's probably above 35 or 40%. And the other thing is that the marijuana, the kids have developed ways of using, purifying the marijuana up to like a 90% purity, and they'll use it to heat it, and I think they inhale it, and they're using it in schools. It's almost odorless, and I would say that there is more and more evidence coming out about the increased probability of developing schizophrenia and psychoses from the use of marijuana. Personally, I also think that marijuana is that is the gateway to much more dangerous substances. Thank you.
You guys know me, I'm here to talk about data again. Okay, starting off, Bill Pine, Here tonight to talk about studying hospital transport. Over the last few months, Trustee Buckley has told us we have to do what the firemen want or we'll die, and has proposed eliminating the 30-plus year relationship with our current transport provider based solely on her opinion, but I've realized it's all part of distracting from the obvious benefit of actually studying what we do before we do it. Kurt Heise conducted a protracted campaign to substantially increase the fire department's size and do away with contract transport for his own political reasons, a pattern which appears to be continuing with Jen. What has become obvious is that Jen doesn't know what she doesn't know, which she apparently doesn't care about because of her political motivation, but the concept is actually central to this discussion. In fairness to Jen, her 6 more experienced, more knowledgeable colleagues on the board also don't know what they don't know, but are all smart enough to realize that they don't know and support the study on this issue to find out what they don't know and who does. The study will provide a basis for responsible decision-making, and those 6 board members are off to a good start. For you folks in the fire department, if you don't, I don't know if you're actually feeding our least experienced, least knowledgeable trustee with you have to do what the firemen want or you'll die, or simply being blamed for her literary license, but in either case, you need to realize that you're taking a serious credibility hit with a large and growing number of residents. You don't need that. What you do need to do is be good employees, supporting the need or the study of hospital transport honestly, professionally, collaboratively, positively, openly, patiently. You get the picture. If you do, I can tell you from tons of personal, professional experience that the end result will be good for the fire department. And most importantly, it'll be good for the residents of Plymouth Township, who all of you work for. The board members also need to be good employees to protect low property taxes, demonstrate financial responsibility, put the needs of the 28,000 residents before those of 24 firemen, most of whom do not live here, and outside special interests that Kurt Heise made promises to in exchange for large campaign donations, and engage in honest, civil, respectful discourse across all media with the residents and your colleagues. Jen, as the Heise trustee, you're not doing a very good job of this, but fortunately, your 6 more experienced colleagues do try to honor their duties to include an objective professional study of this issue. Wrapping this all up, studying hospital transport is good, providing a basis for objective decision-making on this topic that's beneficial for the residents. 6 of 7 trustees support this. Irresponsible, misleading political grandstanding is bad. It distracts from the effective, constructive study of the matter at hand and perpetuates the arrogant, dishonest, disrespectful legacy of Kurt Heise. Finally, as I said previously, everyone needs to support studying hospital transport for the good of the residents, regardless of what Kurt Heise says or tells you to do. Almost all of the board is off to a good start. Please continue. We need comprehensive knowledge, not arbitrary tidbits of data and politically motivated fear-mongering. Professional study is good. Please keep it up, guys.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Name is William Ikes. I'm on the planning commissioner. I was here back in December, right? So thank you for being nominated. I did bring 7 copies here, and I wanted to pass this out, right? In our planning commission, we have to come up with a master plan and update it, right? Part of that master plan and part of why I volunteered to be in the planning commission was to use smart technology to try and make this township better, right? And there are ways to improve response times with respect to ambulance, right? That's a longer discussion, but what I want to share here is, I actually, if you could take one, John, and pass it down. I brought 7 of those, thank you, right, so you can all have it. I actually took the time to drive by HVI and did a simple audit, okay? Because at the last meeting in December, the question was, how many units do we have and how many are deployed? Nobody knew. So I actually took the time to go audit over the last 28 days. I made 27 visits, simply driving down Goldsmith to where HVA has. And I made 2 columns here. One is the units deployed on the road. Okay, that's in green. 1 in black are the units not deployed. What's in orange are weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. What's in chartreuse is Saturday and Sunday, right? What you see in red are holidays. I did not make a visit on Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, right? So you can see in light gray, okay, that's the evening time from 6 to 11 p.m. What's in yellow are no audit days. What's in light orange is 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., which is the morning rush hour. What's in green is 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and what's in blue is 2 to 6 p.m. If you look at the data very quickly, you can see on average, okay, on an average of 27 of those visits, 5 of the audits were done in the morning. Okay, there were an average of 9 HVA ambulance units deployed. Where they're deployed, right? HVA can provide more information. They're here. Number 2, midday, there are 10.4 units deployed, okay, during that time of the day. And in the afternoon, 2 to 6 is 10.1, in the evening it's 6. Now, maybe that's because of traffic density. Maybe it's because of analytics, right, that HVA has, okay? I don't purport to be an ambulance expert, right, in deployment, but what I did want to tell is, on average, if you take those 27 visits, there are 9.8 units deployed, whether it's early in the day, late at night, a weekend or a weekday. On weekends, there are fewer units deployed. That's probably because most of us are home watching the Lions game, right, or bowl games, whatever it may be. But I wanted to implore the Board of Trustees, all 7, to manage by facts and data the way we do in private industry as well as public industry. Let the data drive the decisions, right, with the recommendations and the findings, and to collaborate, right? In robotics, you have a 3-man robotics team, right? The fire department, God bless you, thank you for your service, right? The ambulance department, thanks for saving most of our lives, right? And the Board of Trustees, you guys are the 3 robots on that team that work as a coalition. Please do that going forward, right? Stay off social media and the television channels. That does not improve the quality of life in Plymouth Township. Thank you.
So hey, Bill,
Hold on, we have a
where did
question.
you get this data from?
Myself, I actually went and drove, right? I live in the township, right? Just in the 62% of where the voting population is, west of Shelf Road, right? And I've done studies on the lights, including that doggone light at Goldsmith, right, the Fooyah plant. And if all you guys really want to help, call Wayne County Road Hazard, right, and ask them to make that light a blinking yellow that's triggered by a camera. There are cameras on both ends that'll speed up the HVA units going north and south, and it'll speed up extra units being deployed. So I got the data, Bob, to answer your question.
Units
With
in
my own
Plymouth
eyes, I
Township.
recorded. I have pictures and photos on my phone. If anyone doubts it, I'm happy to take anyone through that after the
Plymouth
meeting.
Township.
I'm an engineer. We measure things. Thank you.
It's not in Plymouth Township.
Oh, he went over to the garage? Oh, yeah.
Good evening. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm one of the losing candidates for trustee, but I just wanted to.
Tell them who you are, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's Bob Miller. I was the #1 candidate on the ballot, but it didn't work out that way. The reason why is that they got more votes than I did. So congratulations. I'm troubled by this continuing dissonance with HVA ambulance. It seems to me, and no offense meant to Pacific Palisades, California, but we're not Pacific Palisades, California. And if you look at your audience, some of us are elderly. I'm part of that group. I don't think I need a fire truck to come and take me to the hospital. But we sure could use some EMTs. I don't think we have enough EMTs. In fact, we don't even have enough EMTs to cover this crowd. So is there a problem with that still? Could somebody bring me up to date on that? And I'm reading some strange emails back and forth, and it seems like I thought we talked about this before the election. And I sort of thought it was resolved, but apparently it's not. So any guidance you might be able to shed on that, I would be very much appreciated. And by the way, please note, I've only used half my time. Thank you. Oh, by the way, it appears to me as a solution in search of a problem.
Hi, my name's Diane Velois, and before I get started, I want to let you know that I'm not part of an angry mob. That's what we've been called on social media, and we are not. My main concern tonight is that it's been happening on social media since the new board took place less than 60 days ago. Chuck Kermy won the election as our new supervisor. We just went through 8 years of self-serving politicians. We now have a trustee who is attempting to disrupt the process of the HVA and fire department study. Why such urgency now? To quote what this trustee is posting, did you know it's been like this for our public safety department for 10 years? My response was a simple question. If Kurt was in office 8 years and you were in there almost 4, where was your outrage then? I got no response from her. She simply responded to a firefighter's wife that I was contrary to literally everything and that she basically wouldn't respond to me anymore. It seems to me that one of Kurt and his puppet board's last pushes was for an $8 million fire station. Buildings don't fight fires. Adequate staff does. I have been ridiculed by you and several firefighters that I am against public safety. Nothing could be farther from the truth. I come from a family of police officers. 3 worked in Detroit and 2 worked for other communities. I know about public safety and support it. Half of my winter taxes went for the fire and police millages voted in by residents. You would be hard-pressed to find a township resident that doesn't support our police and fire department. If it was voted on at the last meeting to maintain HVA for another 18 months while a study is conducted by our supervisor, HVA and the fire department, please allow this to happen in a fair and honest manner. We just completed 8 years of chaos and just want it to stop. We as residents want only the best for our community, and we're getting tired of being watchdogs for board members out for their own benefit. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stella Liansky. The Plymouth Township Professional Firefighters Facebook page was supposed to be about current staffing models. If that truly were the case, the township would not be in a panic, which has been led by a rogue trustee. On their January 24th post, I mentioned the panic it's creating in the township and got a decent, respectful response. From that point on, it turned into a cesspool of garbage. Kurt Heise used the page to complain about me, saying I'm a Libertarian Party activist. He goes on and ends with his attack on me, Dwayne Vantop, and Dale Bernhardt, saying what we would like to see. It's not at all accurate. This post should be removed if it hasn't been already. Comments on the January 4th post got worse, and a Hamtramck lieutenant looked at my profile and made a comment about my dogs by their name, saying that Bailey and Bentley would want a good response if there was a fire in my house. That felt creepy and threatening to me. I called the chief of Hamtramck Fire Department, and the lieutenant's posts were removed. This lieutenant went on to call me a whack job for being concerned about his looking at my profile. He didn't own up to what he actually did. He went on to say that he is a union president. Scary thought, isn't it? Almost immediately after that happened, someone created a Facebook profile with my dog's names, called it Justice for Bailey and Bentley, and stole my dog's pictures. Now they are posting things about my dogs and things that my dogs aren't being taken care of because I don't care about public safety. I don't know yet who's doing this. I will find out. But I know our former supervisor likes this kind of harassment, as has nothing to do since he's been fired. Is this what our firefighters do all day long when they don't have a fire? Is this professionalism? I hesitate to think that they will actually come to my home if they were needed, even though my tax dollars pay their salary. This needs to end.
I am former Staff Sergeant Dwayne Zantop, and I believe in respecting the chain of command. At the last board meeting, when the HVA contract was extended for 18 months, it was agreed that Supervisor Kermy would have regular meetings with HVA, our fire chief, and address any problems that might occur. I do not believe it is appropriate for a rogue trustee to undermine this process for political reasons. It is ridiculous that HVA has been here for decades, and the first meeting our new supervisor takes over, the trustee starts pushing the agenda that we're all going to die. This was never an issue on the previous board. How many of you know a man who goes by the name of Jeffrey Bigglesworth? Jeffrey Bigglesworth is Dr. Evil's cat from the Austin Powers comedy series. Jeffrey Bigglesworth has been identified as Chris Heisey's current fake name, and his only friend is none other than this rogue trustee. This name seems appropriate since Heisey is a cat lover. Bigglesworth, also known as Heisey, is up to his old tricks of trying to destroy the lives of anyone he disagrees with on his social media. He continues to harass me, members of my family, and even goes as far as to my grandson. Heisey has resonated to making terrible, disgusting remarks about a trustee that was on his slate that voted in favor of the HVA contract. Heisey did not learn his lesson after losing his election. He's out to destroy HVA and anyone else that disagrees with him. HVA has been transporting for approximately 40 years, and our new supervisor overwhelmingly won the election, promising to keep HVA for the added protection of our community. Everyone knows Heisey spent his time on social media making disparaging remarks on social media rather than attending to business. In 8 years Kurt Heisey was in office, he only communicated with HVA on a few occasions. If there were problems, he should have opened up the lines of communications. Heisey's goal all along was to get reelected, eliminate HVA, and raise our taxes. If the Carlo brothers are successful in suing us, it may result in a special assessment of $10 million tacked onto our taxes because of Heisey's disgusting behavior. I'm definitely not in favor of eliminating HVA and a massive tax increase. There are always two sides of a story, and we see HVA ambulances stationed in various places in Plymouth Township on a daily basis. I really appreciate our firemen and the job they do, but I feel we need them in the community to fight fires and other emergencies. We need to let our supervisor do his job without interference from Kurt Heisey and showboating from other members of the board. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Smith. I'm the president of Plymouth Township Firefighters, Local 1496. With me is the vice president, Ian Culver. We are standing up this evening to speak because we feel that this entire issue has taken a swing in the wrong direction. Our intent is to inform the public about the critically low staffing level that we have. The discussion about whether HVA is here or not is not part of our agenda. It's not part of what we wanted to discuss. We are simply saying that as a department, as the people providing the service to the community, we do not have enough staff to do that. So whether HVA is here or not is not our concern. That's not what we are pushing. And how this has taken a political curve was never our intention. And that is not the message that we are trying to get to the public. The message is simple. Our staff is too low given the run volume that we have. And Ian is going to speak to some numbers that refer to some previous years just to give an idea. But again, I wanted to reiterate that because I feel this whole thing, we've been intertwined with HVA and our desire to transport, and that's not the message. So thank you, and I'll let Ian take over.
Supervisor, I appreciate working with us to find the data. That's all we want is accurate data out there. That's why we keep proposing, working with you guys, the citizens, to get the data out there. We agree with that. But just a simple thing, as the president said, that again, we are not pushing transporting by any means. It's simply staffing at this time, right? Just as a brief data, in 2006, we covered the city of Plymouth. Both Plymouth Township and the city were one full-time department. We were doing roughly 3,000 calls covering both departments. Now we're up to 3,700 runs, so almost 700 to 1,000 runs more with less staffing. At that time, we had 27 members on, now we have 24. That's what we're addressing. It is becoming concerning. As the fire the other day, we did not have an engine staffed to make it there in enough time. That's what we're getting across. We don't condone politics. I know people bring up Heisey. We don't agree with that. This is simply facts. We want to work with the board, the citizens. Again, we can't say that loud enough. We are simply trying to show what we have because, frankly, people drive by and think that there's multiple guys. Each truck has 2 guys. That's just not the case. We jump trucks back and forth constantly. That's not how you should operate. We do it for a living. The chief can speak on how it works, but we appreciate the time, you guys hearing us, and we're willing to answer any questions, and we hope to work with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eileen Coleman. I'm a nurse by background, so I have a little bit of a medical background. I tried to do a little bit of research in this before I came here. I wasn't really expecting to speak. There does need to be an analysis before there is even actually people speaking, because this takes experts to actually know how to do this properly. How do you bring 2 different models together to partner? How do you have the firefighters do what they're supposed to do, which is fight fires and disasters, and do that well? They don't have to do transports as much as they do. HVA is very competent. They've been in our community a long time. This isn't about unions. This is about what is in the best interest of the safety of the residents of Plymouth Township. Of course, you know this is not a new topic. In 2019, the board approved the contract with HVA as it was agreed that we wanted, indeed, to be safer with the specialized transport offered by HVA. The arguments made then remain valid to this day. Really not that much has changed except for the medical climate has changed. There's a lot of more sick people now. The hospitals are having trouble staffing. We will be left vulnerable and unsafe if our valuable firefighters are outside our community. We need them in our town, closest to the community they are paid to protect. We like our firefighters. We need them present for fires and disasters. Transporting patients to hospitals takes our firefighters away for long periods of time, as wait times in hospitals have increased since COVID. Patients are frequently required to wait in hallways right now as they're taken in on transport. St. Mary's, to go there from here is 10 to 15 minutes. The transport spends about 45 minutes at the hospital. They return about 10 to 15 minutes. That's greater than an hour and a half outside our community. Providence, 30 minutes to it, 20 to 30 minutes at the hospital, 30 minutes return, greater than 1.5 hours to transport. St. Joe's, 30 minutes to, 30 to 1 hour at 30 minutes coming back, greater than 2 hours gone. U of M, 40 minutes to, 1 hour at, 40 minutes return, greater than 2.5 hours out. There are faster times for St. Joe's and U of M when there are lights and sirens. So if there's a life-threatening event, they're going to get those people in quicker. The issue of concurrent runs and statistics relating to times residents are left without adequate coverage is the primary argument against changing to firefighters solely. Common sense to retain the HVA to maintain fire and rescue readiness is what we want. So I did a little bit of analysis of, and I'm not an expert at all, analysis of the protocol of dispatch. All of this has to be looked at. How do we dispatch? It comes into 911, and I'm not going to talk too much longer. It comes into 911, it goes to the police. They send out an ambulance, the firefighters go out, then HVA takes that call, they send it through what's called the Pro QA, which is an accredited system. And then that plugs in a whole bunch of codes, thousands of codes to determine how severe this is. How severe is this call? Not all calls have to be responded to within 5 minutes. Their contract of HVA says they'll be to life-threatening, that's lights and sirens, 10 minutes. I know a lot more about this because I did the research, but this isn't my job to research this. I'm a resident. This is your job to research this. You were elected for that. We need to stop having to do all this background work that you guys all should be doing.
There's a seat up here if somebody needs one.
Oh, sorry. My name's Don Schneller. Tonight, I thought I was going to talk about having HVA stay, but it sounds like everybody's for it now, so maybe that's not an issue. I'd like to see a raise of hands. Who has used the paramedics or HVA to go to the hospital? Well, great, you all survived. I've had 2 heart attacks, and the night I had them, I had our paramedics and the HVA show up. Just about, Plymouth was faster because they're closer, and I chose Plymouth to take me to the hospital. One was St. Mary's and one was Providence. But the thing I think that's missing is the figures that we're trying to compare ourselves to other jurisdictions and meet the demands, and I can see the work being a load, but the challenge I see is if you have a township is a 6x6 area, 36 square miles. We're comparing ourselves to Canton, Plymouth, or Livonia, and Westland. And for each one of those, we're only, our square that would be equivalent to a township is Plymouth Township, Northville Township, City of Plymouth, and City of Northville. And I took the figures of all 4 of us, added them up, and compared to Canton, we're 73,000 with our people, with all 4 jurisdictions. Livonia is 92,000, Westland is 82, and Canton's almost 100,000. So if you take all the figures, they're far above us, and you can't take Plymouth Township and compare us to it because we're not even a half a township because we have the city of Plymouth with us. So when you're trying to put us into a bracket that's so big, we can't even compare. And you can look at the firemen, and it's outrageous. We're at 63. Chuck, you said 3 off. I went by the websites, and basically we have 63. If we're off by, we have 60, and Plymouth has 20 on call. Livonia has 89, Westland has 75, and Canton has 74. But the budget is the weird thing because all 4 of our budgets put together come to 17 million. Livonia pays less than 17 million for their fire department, and they transport, they say. Westland is 18, and Canton is 22. Here's one thing I want to get a point across, though. I haven't did the research into it, but Plymouth Township, Northville Township, City of Plymouth, and City of Northville. You guys, we have 3 township, or we have 3 fire department, 3 fire halls. City of Plymouth has 2, Northville has 1, And Northville Township has one, I believe they're building another one. That's 8 fire stations, and I have no idea, but I don't think Canton or Livonia or Westland have near that many stations. So it just seems like we're trying to make 4 people jurisdictions that can't get along and can't share services except for mutual aid, which, by the way, you guys transported quite a few people this last month. You guys transported 64 patients, and HVA transported 85. It's in your packet tonight. So you are transporting, and if you want to transport more. But if you're busy, then leave it to HVA.
Anyone else? All right, we'll go on. So we have item number 1 under new business is rezoning on Northville Road. This was a pretty routine thing. This area was zoned R2, which is apartments or multiples, and there's an empty lot there, and somebody wants to purchase it and build a single-family home. You can't do that unless it's zoned R1, which is single-family. So at the request of this prospective owner, we are rezoning it back to what it was for many, many decades as R1 residential, and they plan to build a house. So, any questions? Otherwise, we'll take a motion.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to adopt Resolution 2025-01-14-04, authorizing the approval of the Northville Road residential rezoning map amended from R2A multiple family residential district to R1 one family residential district as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Second.
Second is by Growth. Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy?
Yes.
Trustee Clinton?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz?
Yes.
Trustee Growth?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Before we move on, do we have a representative of the owner? All right.
I am the buyer's club of buyers.
Okay, so you can take the message back to them that it's approved, and I hope they put the shovel in the ground between now and June or something like that. Do you need a copy of what we approved today? Okay, you can take that.
And we'll have a signed copy by me tomorrow morning, okay?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So just stop by if you want us to mail it to us, just let us know that, whatever you need, okay?
Next item is number 2, the Western Wayne County Police Mutual Aid Agreement. And Police Chief James Nitel will give us a summary on this. This is a good example of regional cooperation so that you don't have to staff for absolute peak unusual events. We share resources in Western Wayne County with other police departments. Go ahead.
Thank you, Supervisor. In front of you is a document. This document was started in 1987 with a group of police chiefs in Western Wayne when we moved to regionalization of resources, including our special operations team, Western Wayne Mobile Field Force, in case of civil disturbances, things like that, as well as a negotiating team. So each member that's part of this association has X amount of officers that work in the various groups. When we have a situation, the special operations team, in my time here in the last 2.5 years, we've utilized that team 4 times. The city of Plymouth, since I've been here, has utilized it once. And they train together. We help fund that group. And what you have in front of you with the agreement is basically a playbook for situations where we may have disasters, whether that could be a disaster of Mother Nature or a disaster of a specific incident. It spells it out. Will Hayes, who's the emergency manager from the Canton, and Brian Kahn from Livonia worked with us on this. They are certified emergency managers. They made sure that all the language was correct in the document. And then all the police chiefs went through the document to make sure that it was operationally sound. When you look through that, there's NIMS language is the National Incident Management System, as well as ICS language, which is Incident Command System. So when we have an incident, there's a playbook of exactly how we're going to handle it, who will provide resources, and it's spread evenly among the communities depending on their size. And that would be a summary, sir.
Okay. It's the right thing to do?
It is the right thing to do, absolutely. This has been very successful since 1987. The Western Wayne Chiefs of Police, we meet every month for 8 months out of the year, and we reviewed the document. The last time that the document had been updated was 2017. We felt that it was good to go back over it. I sat on a subcommittee with the two emergency managers, Chief Hilden from Northville Township and the deputy chief from Van Buren. So we sat on a subcommittee. We went back through the document. We made recommendations to the entire Western Wayne Chiefs of Police, and then we pushed the document forward. So each agency that's listed in there, this document will go back to them. The signatures from the last document, most of the elected officials had changed, as well as a lot of the police chiefs. So,
Chief, what is the heading where it says total LE officers? Is that?
Law enforcement officers.
Law enforcement, okay.
Yeah. And it's based on percentages. As you can see, Plymouth Township, our percentages are slightly higher than Plymouth City, fairly equivalent with Northville Township. Livonia, who has one of the larger groups in Dearborn, would have more if the situation deemed necessary.
So this means we have 28 sworn officers? I thought we had maybe more than that.
Well, we do. This document has been a work in progress for a year, so yeah.
And we have vacancies too in our.
We have vacancies, and we didn't want it, because the thing is, we're committed to those numbers. So if our numbers are down, we don't want to commit to more than we can handle.
Okay.
Because we still have to have officers out on the road doing our normal police work. This would be on top of it.
All right, don't overcommit.
No.
Have
Yes,
to
sir.
manage the home front too.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve Resolution 2025-01-14-05 to adopt the attached Western Wayne Police Mutual Aid Agreement and authorize the Township Supervisor and Police Chief to sign said agreement.
Support.
That's supported by Trustee Stewart. Roll call, Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy.
yes.
Trustee Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Grove.
Yes.
Clerk Borber, yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 3, we're going to have 3, 4, and 5. They're all about the sidewalk replacement repair program that the township is committed to by legal reasons that typically came from Supreme Court rulings beginning back in the 90s that says that there is some liability. And so the township is obligated to have some type of program in order to protect from being regularly sued for slip and fall. Although I'm going to ask a question of our attorney later. Who gets sued if the sidewalk is uneven and someone trips? Is it the resident and the township, or just the township?
There is case law on this. Generally speaking, the township owes a non-delegable duty to pedestrians to maintain sidewalks in reasonable repair. Some communities have ordinances stating that it's ultimately the resident's responsibility and that the township can subrogate its liability to the residents, but there is a case that says that that is not valid. Those ordinances are not valid. So ultimately, it is the township that is liable. However, one portion of that law had been changed. There's, under the sidewalk liability statute, the legislature has granted the township certain public or certain common law defenses that were not available prior to the amendment to the Governmental Immunity Act. Basically, what the amendment says is that if a defect in a sidewalk is open and obvious, the township can use the open and obvious defense as a defense to liability. Where that stands now in light of current Supreme Court law with respect to premises liability is not entirely clear, but that is beneficial from the township standpoint.
So that's one of the reasons we're doing this.
Yes.
All right. Okay, we're going to have a public hearing, right, Jerry?
That is correct. Part of the process is that we have to have a public hearing, and we open it up for public comments, and if no one speaks, then we close it. And that's just part of the process that you have to go through. And then there will be other meetings that the public we have 5 zones that we go through, taking 5 years to go through the township in order to accomplish our goal of making the sidewalks as safe as possible. And this is the first step.
One of the reasons for the public hearing is some people are going to be assessed to pay for this. So you have to give everyone a chance to have a public redress of why you think it's a good idea or a bad idea.
I move to open the public hearing at 7:34.
Second.
Second by Grove. And so now's an opportunity for anybody who wants to speak about sidewalks to come forward.
So you must state your address and your name so that our engineering consultant, Jeremy Schroet, who's managing the program with his company Spalding DeDecker, will be able to capture your comments.
My name is Amy Yu. I live in the Deer Creek subdivision. I know that the sidewalks have been at issue for years. I remember several years ago getting a one-page paper saying, you need to fix your sidewalks. We're gonna tell you when we can give you an estimate of how much if the township fixes it, or you can fix it yourself. So my neighbor and I came and called and we said, okay, but what are the standards? And we didn't get any standards. So we were fearful that if we go and pay somebody else to fix it, and it's not up to the standards of the township, then we'd have to pay all over again. So that is a big concern. Then on December 12th, the letter was dated December 12th, but I got it much later, that, oh yeah, there's gonna be an assessment if you don't do it yourself, and it's gonna cost you X amount of dollars, and mine's like over $550. And I understand that, and I'm a lawyer. I know about people falling and people getting injured, although I'm a family law attorney, don't do any slip and falls. But in any case, but the thing that kind of concerns me is that I've been waiting for a long time to try to figure out how much, or whether I should have somebody else come in and do the work. We get this paperwork on December 12th. I show up to this public hearing, and it says that we have 30 days to decide whether we're gonna let the township contractor that you've selected to do it, or for me to get my own contractor to repair it. It's January. We keep having snow. I have called 3 people. They're not even willing to come out. I don't know how I'm supposed to get a contractor and get prices and figure out which is the better way to go, because nobody will come out because we're in the middle of winter now. You can't even see, well, I do shovel my sidewalks because I know I'm supposed to, but I do. But that's a problem. And in addition to that, we have to pay a $77 extra fee for opting out. And then we have to call and get it, reevaluate it after, if I select a contractor to do it. It's just, I can't even move fast enough to comply. That's the problem. And if it wasn't snow covered and snow, warnings, and I could do it. I could do it in the spring. I could do it in the summer. I could do it in the fall, but I can't do it in the dead of winter. I just don't think it's fair to expect us to be able to move that fast when we only got it December, I don't know, I got mine December 17th because the mail's slow. But those are my concerns. I have no problem about being responsible for fixing the sidewalk. I do understand that, but I just think it's not enough time. It's not fair to, and I looked at the list of all the people that have it, and everybody's gonna be fighting over contractors. I mean, there's like hundreds and hundreds of people that are now under that deadline to get it done by June. And I think that the timing needs to be reconsidered.
What is your address?
12018
12018
Deer Creek
Deer
Run.
Creek. So to give you a little background is, the original assessment was done in 2023, and we decided to stop that because the prices and the quality of work was outrageous from the contractors. So there was a lot of early notice, maybe you didn't get it, but this is we're repeating it. So I don't think this is, if you had problems, I don't think this is the first time you've seen it. Because there was at least
No,
two
no, I
mailings-
said earlier, years ago,
two
I got
mailings.
a
Is that right?
paperwork.
What, Mary, Jeremy can tell us, but I think we had at least two mailings in the last over a year.
We did, yeah. So we sent out the original postcard October 8th, 2023. So that would have included information, including the township's website. The township's website has all of the sidewalk standards, including the township ordinance and all the background information on.
That would have
on how
been
to do
great when I called, and they could have directed me towards that, but we were not.
that. Right. So again, to
Call the number that was on the card, which is.
It could have been the Plymouth Township. I usually use the computer, so, to find
So the hard
off the
copy letter
website.
had the number and the email address to send to. When was the second? This is the third mailing, right?
correct.
So when was the second one?
Second one was also November, I think it was November 12th of
What year?
2024.
2024?
2024, and then we sent the public notices on December 12th after that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, if I understand you correctly, what you're trying to express to us is a concern that this is not the time for you to get pricing and quotes from a contractor, and you're being forced to do that within a very limited period of time when it's not possible.
That's exactly right. I have no problems paying the assessment, okay? But I would like to check out other prices, but it's not possible in the short time frame that I'm given based on, I only have 30 days to opt out, right? To do it myself, or to have somebody do it.
The 30 days is just the notice of intent that you intend to go find another contractor. The actual date to replace the sidewalk is June 27th. So if you want to go look for contractors, just tell us your intent is to go with a contractor. If you don't schedule it for removal and replacement, you'll automatically be included in the assessment program.
So there's a default. If the work doesn't get done by June 27th, you'll be opted in.
So the question is then, this is a notice just for intent. So I intend to opt out. So they can intend to opt out and then opt back in if they can't find someone, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
I still would just like
It has a
to,
checked valve.
I would just like to have time where it's not freezing and people don't want to come out and help me out here to give me a quote. That's my issue.
I completely understand. If I were you, I'd say your intent is to opt out and work on getting a contractor in March, because they'll start working and they'll start planning for April work. That's what I do.
If it stays warm, right? If it gets warm, I'm sorry.
It will be
If
warm. It always
gets
happens.
warm.
Yeah. So you can
gets warm
opt
every
out
year.
and then opt back in.
I know, but you know what? All
So
of my neighbors aren't here and they don't know that. And maybe drafting would have made it a little bit easier to understand that.
Right, we're constantly trying to improve, so we're
Still,
gonna
still
work on
asking
that.
for more
We're gonna
time.
make it more clear. We pulled it ahead this year because to give people more time. Normally, we don't do this, and the public hearing is until March, right?
Yeah.
So
March
we
or
pulled it
April.
ahead,
Okay, well, thank you.
but
We
I
understand.
the process isn't perfect, so we will continue to refine the process.
Thank you.
We're getting better. So hopefully you got your answers. If you don't, use the phone number that's on the letter or see him personally. The guy at the end.
The guy at the end with a nice beard.
My name is James Wines. I live in Plymouth Township at 13460 St. Andrews Drive. I did receive one of the notices last year, this year again. So I'm here to object to the applicability of the assessment specifically in my case. There's 2 slabs in the right of way described in the notice. Each slab has 1 crack in them. I also did some research. In the memo, it talked about 2 slabs at 25 square foot each.
Sorry, sir, what's your address again?
13460 St. Andrews Drive.
Okay.
Plymouth Township, 48170.
Okay, I was just gonna bring it up on the Google Earth here.
Oh, certainly. So it butts up against, and it's the part of the sidewalk that is south of North Territorial Road. It's a sidewalk, if you go to the east, it goes nowhere. So I would claim that there is little to no risk based on traffic. So there is 1 crack in each of the 2 slabs. It's through from one end to the other. The acceptance criteria that is mentioned in the standard is that you have to have greater than 2 cracks per 2 lineal feet. Those are the only 2 criteria, and it was graded as a 4. Grades 4 and 5 were for replacement of those squares. All of the other criterion, which is talking spalling or uneven surface, all of those were graded as a 1 or a 2. So it wouldn't fall in scope of this replacement program. So based on those subjective rulings of calling it a 4, even though it's 1 crack rather than greater than 2, and then the square footage, it makes me think that the quality of the exam was pretty low, and it just wants to add in scope in my case. So I'd question whether or not all other exams are unfair also. So that's my objection. Are there any questions? And if you want to see where the slabs are, I can show you.
Better
The one
to follow.
slab is right there in the driveway, and then 1 or 2 slabs to the east.
Have you emailed or called those numbers?
I did.
And what happened?
Last year, and I got a response to see what degradation there is. There's been no degradation since I bought the house in 2017, and within the last year, the degradation is, to me, not a risk to the health and safety of the public.
We can certainly look at it for you and come back out and evaluate, but again, the program's set up with specific guidelines. As a part of our battle against liability, we have to set a standard, and from that standard, we have to adhere to that standard. The 2 foot is meant to be 2 foot, 1/4 inch width. So if you have a 5 foot wide sidewalk, that's 5 foot long, which is technically the same as 2 2-foot cracks. So it's either a crack all the way through, or it's 2 separate cracks. So I'm looking at it right now. That's the reason why they marked it the way they marked it, but we're happy to look at it again and, see if we can do something.
Thanks for that interpretation and the clarification. To me, it doesn't present more risk than a seam that you would put in a sidewalk in the first place. My dad ran the sidewalk program in a local place, so I know that it's awfully important, but I don't see it that way for my example.
Yeah, we have to go off of ADA standards, and we have to set some standard in order to, meet that intent of reducing liability, and we're not even at ADA standard. We're just trying to meet a happy medium to keep the residents as safe as possible and limit as much liability as possible.
Yeah, I understand that, but also the risk when it's a sidewalk to nowhere. If the sidewalk went all the way to the corner of North Territorial and Beck Road, it'd be an easier buy.
Where does it end? Is that Richard Charlin's property? No?
Well, that's,
that across from Our Lady of Good Counsel Church there?
yeah.
Yes. And it's on the side where you'd have to jaywalk to go on my sidewalk and go across the road. or walk across more hazardous.
Or how that house got built without putting a sidewalk in.
Yeah.
So,
So
thank you
his,
for your
his stop
time.
is where the developer put it in when he put it in originally, probably.
Well, St. Andrews,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's-
But that is a
This
custom-built
house,
house.
Yeah.
But
this
I'm
house
surprised.
came later.
Came later. I'm surprised it
built-
didn't have a sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we ought to look into that. Maybe they did sidewalk, payment in lieu of sidewalks.
We'll find out.
Of course, it would dead end again at that White House.
Yes, it
Yeah.
would.
Then,
Then after that, it's,
then we'd have to,
yeah.
then you get to.
All right, we're sorry.
Go ahead.
It's okay. My name is Lee Oberson. I am representing my parents who live at 47605 Powell Road. My parents are not, well, my mom's passed. My dad is 92 years old. So you're looking at a picture of the house right now. My parents bought this house in 1985. Powell Road was dirt, Beck Road was dirt, and they had no sidewalk. The township, understandably, wanted to carry on some sidewalk to the park that's there on the corner of Beck Road and Ann Arbor Trail.
Sure.
So they put, my parents' house is this house, this wall here. So the township put the burn in, the retaining wall, and the sidewalk. My parents is the only house on Powell Road where they put the sidewalk in and they built it up like that. So my parents have had to, this happened when they were in their 70s. My parents had to cut that hill. They've had to maintain those bushes. They've had to maintain that berm that the township put in at their expense. And now they're gonna have to pay an assessment to fix the sidewalk that they didn't opt to put in, the township opted to put in, and they can't even maintain what is there now. The retaining wall is falling in. As you can imagine, it's 20 years old. And the sidewalk where it's lifted is from the trees that the township planted. So I just have a problem with my parents having to pay for something that the township implemented. I mean, they've had to hire out that hill to manually cut that lawn. They've never been able to cut that hill because it is hard. My kids have a hard time doing it. I don't do it.
Talking about that grade
time.
between the curb and the wall?
The curb and the wall.
How wide is that really?
It's probably 3 passes with a regular lawnmower. But it's about like this. Oh, you're pushing the lawnmower. My dad has a driving lawnmower, but he can't do that with the driving lawnmower. So I spoke to my dad. I had him here, but the meeting was too long. He's 92. I had to send my husband to take him home. But it's a lot to ask on top of the fact that the township built this. So, and they have been maintaining it to the best of their ability for all these years. And now they're gonna have to pay to get it fixed. It's just a lot to ask, I think.
What was the estimate that you were given?
Pardon me?
What was the estimate that you were given?
I don't remember.
Hold on, we can look it up.
$1,000, 1,064 or something.
Hold on, we'll look it up. So, yeah, this is the sidewalk gap program. That's something we wrestle with, where the township installs sidewalks to improve walkability and access to parks and uptown Plymouth.
Yes.
So this is something we always wrestle with.
And this sidewalk doesn't even go through. There's a vacant lot on Powell Road.
Well, tonight
that
we're
the sidewalk
fixing
like
that.
ends.
We're fixing that tonight.
Yes, and so it doesn't even like finish. So I get what you're saying, but it's not even complete in terms of, and then again, like I said, you're asking to assess my folks. I don't know what the dollar amount was, but.
Bob, it's 1,094.
1,094.
Yeah, 1,000, I knew it was 1,000 something. So it's quite a hit for a 92-year-old man that he can't, he's having a hard time maintaining the lot. Well, he's not doing it. That's why I'm here.
You're
So,
doing it.
That's exactly right. And again, it was all township implemented. And if you look there, they're the only house that got that big, huge berm and the wall and the retaining wall, and that's falling apart too, so. So
right.
anyways, that's
We-
my
we-
complaints about it.
Okay, we're listening. We want to improve. I don't have the silver bullet, but we're,
Okay, so if you guys could look at that, I can call the number or email off the card if that's helpful. I just wanted to make sure I came here because of the public hearing. So.
Good, I'm glad you
Is that
came.
what I should do?
yes.
I got you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Wisniewski. I live at 49270 Pine Hill Drive, and that's in Ridgewood Hills subdivision, northeast corner of Ann Arbor Road and Ridge Road.
Sorry, 4270?
49270
492.
Pine Hill Drive. I have two questions for the board regarding the sidewalk replacement program. I've been notified that I have two slabs that require replacement due to a defect rating for lip between flags and for excessive cross slope. My slabs are not cracked or surface scaled. I measured the lip displacement between the slabs and found that neither slab has a lip displacement in excess of 3/4 of an inch, which is acceptable. I measured the cross slope on my sidewalk and found that is less than 1 inch per foot, which is acceptable according to the recent notification that I received from the township. So this leads to my first question, which is there an appeal process which allows speaking to someone outside the engineering consultant organization when an owner is in disagreement with the judgment of the engineering consultant employee who issued the sidewalk violation? My second question has to do with the construction program and replacement process, and it is a sidewalk replacement contractor required to repair lawn damage and potential sprinkler system damage resulting from breaking up and replacing the sidewalk slabs?
Okay,
So there you see the picture. The last notification that I received from the township indicates that a cross slope of 1 inch in a foot is acceptable. That's about 8.33% slope. My sidewalk is about 7.6%, so again, it should be acceptable. So that's my question.
We'll take the second one, is all damage and to sprinkler systems or to lawns is repaired as part of the program.
Okay, very
But
good.
no extra, it's baked into the price per flag.
That's very good, excellent. I wondered about that. So the other question is,
He'll answer the other question about appeal. So right now, the appeal is to,
The appeal is just to go to the sidewalks at PlymouthTownship.org webpage, give us your information, we'll schedule someone to come out. It's all, everything on here is measurable. We have, slope meter, we have tape measures, we can go out and walk it with you and show you exactly why it's defective.
so the cross slope is apparently the issue. I had contact with the engineering consultant through the process of emails and
There's two
whatnot.
different defects
And
in
there
the
doesn't
database.
seem to be much dispute about the lip. They agree that maybe that's not an issue. But the cross slope appears to be an issue.
Yeah, there's two different defects based on what's in the database. There's the lip and the slope. But we can
And the
look at
cross
both when we
slope,
go out in the field and
according to
measure
the
both.
township letter that I received recently, is 1 inch in a foot. That's a slope of 8.33%. I'm under that. So I don't know why the slabs would need to be replaced.
Right, that's what I was saying. There's two different defects. One defect that is for the lip, the 3/4 inch lip, and then the other is for the slope. But we can come out and look at both.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lee Mira, 48979 Fox Drive South. I'm not on the list. We don't have a sidewalk. I'm asking just a few questions for my constituents. Is there going to be a newer survey? Because I understand that Spalding the Decker is working off of one that was done in late '23. Are they just completely working off of this one?
No, we already completed this survey in 2023. You know, the sidewalk's going to continue to move throughout time. That's why we have a cyclical program where we do it every 5 years. So rather than try to, you know, double down on the assessment data, the assessments are relatively close.
So it Anybody is who as has, it is right now? Okay. Secondly, for the people that are listed on here, I can understand basically like a typical slab, 4-inch slab might be 250, somewhere in that ballpark. What are the people that have like 0 written down for cubic feet? Is that like upgrading to a ramp or something, like a handicap ramp?
It's 4-inch, 6-inch, or 8-inch.
Yeah, there's 3 different slab thicknesses, 4, 6, and 8. 4 inches your typical sidewalk, 6 inches generally through driveways. A lot of times it's on either side of the driveway too, one flag, and then 8 inches mainly for commercial driveways. So it's 3 different thicknesses of sidewalk.
I see.
So if you don't have any 6 or 8, you're gonna have a 0.
Gotcha.
Yep.
I was looking down the left column, that would be a 4-inch, and I got you.
Yep.
Okay, and last but not least, kind of jealous of the like seasonal sidewalk, we're not gonna maintain it signs. I've seen some of those on the on North Territorial, on the north side, like coming into the city. How do I get those?
You mean when
We're along Ridge Road, we've got sidewalks that go to nowhere,
I've
and
never
nobody
seen those.
maintains them.
Where do you see those
You
at?
sure it's not the city of Plymouth?
Yeah, township.
Really? Tell me where. I'm not aware of it, so.
I'll get a specific.
Tell us where it is.
I take Territorial into Penniman.
Yeah.
And pretty, God's honest, sure.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. It's the city of Plymouth.
City of Plymouth, yeah.
That begins at the Praise Church and goes east.
On that
Starts
side,
before
on the north
Sheldon?
side is the city.
Even on the west side of Sheldon, that's city?
Yes.
Yes.
A little
Only on the north side of the
I
road.
identify as a city person. Can I get a sign?
So,
No, I'm just-
I don't know,
That's-
I don't know
that
how
kinda
they get away with
Let's
that.
go steal it.
There you go.
I don't want a
Spoken like
war
a Michigan Stater.
So,
Okay, that was
the
my
north side of
question.
North Territorial,
at that location.
at that location between Sheldon and where the church starts, on the
Okay.
north side there.
That's still
That's
the
the city
city
of
then.
Plymouth.
Okay.
Goes all the way to the railroad track, where Fuyao Corporation is located with the blue.
UI glass, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, the township ordinance says you have to remove snow and ice.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
What else?
Mr. Supervisor, to perhaps.
No one else, or go ahead. No one else? All right. Go ahead, son.
Okay. Perhaps to add, I don't know of any judge that would not allow a reasonable period of time for you to remedy a sidewalk problem. 6 to 8 months, the next 6 to 8 months, we have frost laws in Michigan. So you can't obviously do it now with the temperatures out there. 5 years ago, pink X's mysteriously appeared on sidewalk slabs. They were generated from drones. My next door neighbor, who was a University of Michigan graduate, she came in here and she was humiliated, and she corrected the board that the ordinance reads there must be a 2-inch gap. before you have enforceability to force a new slab. Now, none of us wants, I speak from experience, none of us wants the liability. Not the township and not the individual homeowner. So we want to cure this problem. We want to remedy this problem. Now, I have asked more than once, because I have reviewed the fire department reports on slip and falls. The next 45 days, the highest number of slip and falls are recorded in Plymouth Township. Obvious, weather. Somebody's got to, I've asked them for a proactive report. And to even say the National Savings Council is recommending people wear a good pair of shoes. So, we pay Spalding to Decker well. And we need to communicate and resolve these issues. But we all want ADA satisfied sidewalks, so you can roll a walker down it. So I'm hoping that we can resolve this, but this, 5 years ago when I came here with my neighbor, and I was not a trustee at that time, it was embarrassing because the board was subjected to pink X's from Twilight Zone appearing on the sidewalks with no other communication. So let's resolve the issue calmly, reasonably, and in the next 6 to 8 months. Thank you so much.
So don't close it.
And I want to wait to see if there's anybody else.
I have 2 comments before we close it.
Okay.
Many times the damage is done by trees. So the roots will be removed when the repair is made, but the trees always grow. I personally use 2 techniques, either by hand or by renting a stump grinder. I grind the roots along parallel to the sidewalk down to about 6 inches. And then I use foaming root killer, which works fantastic. Buy it at Ace Hardware, and it causes the roots to not multiply their cells, so they die off. Doesn't hurt the tree. So those are some tips that I've used over the years to preserve my sidewalks and patios in the backyard from trees that are planted incorrectly. They're planted by landscapers, 1/3 or 1/4 to 1/3 of the ball out of the ground, and they never grow right, and their roots are always digging up your sidewalks.
Anyone else coming forward? Okay, I move.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, I'm just going to close the.
I move to adopt resolution number 20.
No, we got to
close it up.
We got to close.
Close the hearing?
We got to close the hearing, okay. I move that the public hearing be closed at 8:06. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Growth. And I need a roll call. Supervisor Kermy?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz?
Yeah.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Trustee Clinton?
Yes.
Trustee Growth?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart? Motion is closed. Yes. The hearing is closed.
So next item relating to sidewalks as part of the process, finding of necessity for District 4 sidewalk replacement program. So, Kevin, maybe you can explain to me why we do, why we do this portion, the finding of necessity, which essentially says we can assess, I'll just read this. Hold a public hearing, which we did for District 4. If determination is made to proceed, approve the resolution authorizing the construction of the sidewalk replacement and the treasurer's office, that's him, to assess properties for the construction of the one-time opt-out permit fee of $77.
What page is that?
That's on page 174. So Kevin, you can just give us a little Reader's Digest, short, why we're doing this, why this part is required. Finding of necessity.
There are certain steps that are required under statute and the ordinance, both under Public Act 80 of 1989 and under Township Ordinance. Chronologically, it requires DPW to notice the property owners of necessity of replacement or repair of the sidewalk in writing. The second step is that there's got to be a public meeting with respect to the ordering of the sidewalk constructions or repairs. And third, if the property owner does not arrange for the repairs, the board holds a public meeting to declare the necessity of the replacement or repairs. At that meeting, if the board adopts a resolution finding necessity, the resolution must contain certain specific information, which I can list if you'd like. The description of the flags or portions of the sidewalk to be replaced or repaired, a finding of necessity of the replacement or repair for the sidewalk for public safety reasons, and then an order directing the township to replace or repair portions of the sidewalk upon the property owner's omission to repair or replace the sidewalk in question.
I could speak to the $77 the question was asked. So what happened was that we have all of the engineering work that is done and all the pre-work that is done up to date. And in the last year particularly, a large number of people opted out. And so what happened was that in those engineering and those fixed costs that are taken on as the program is rolling out, in past years, we would amortize that cost over this price per square foot, and we would recover all of the engineering and the fixed cost. But because of the number of people that opted out, that didn't have a penalty associated with that, the township ended up having to eat quite a bit of money, because we couldn't charge it to the people that stayed in. That would not have been fair. So we ended up absorbing it, and we came up with a new plan this year that said if you opt out, you still got to pay for the upfront costs that we've already absorbed. So that's the reason for that.
So it's administration costs as part of the engineering. They have
Engineering administration.
Covered over everybody in that district.
Yeah.
Right. So typically the administration cost adds about 25% to the bill. That's why sometimes you can beat the price with concrete lifting or get your own contractor, but typically a small job, the contractor will be reluctant to do a small job and get a cement truck out there to do that at a competitive price. But sometimes there's anomalies, and I think last year, or the year before, was it?
Yes, and people work together.
Last year.
Yeah, some people consolidated, did the American thing of work together, and they beat the price. And then the rest of the
People in other
township
countries
absorbed
work together, not just-
$35,000 in engineering costs.
Was it 35,000?
I think that's what my
It
memory
was
says.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Somewhere around
Yeah.
35 to 40,000.
Mr. Supervisor,
Well,
ready
do
for a
you
motion?
want to talk about the assessment? The assessment, you'll get an invoice once the sprinklers and all of the lawns are repaired and the engineering company signs off that the job is finished to specification. And then you can pay it in full, or you can pay it over 5 years. It'll go on, if you don't pay it, it'll go on the tax roll, and you'll see that in the December bill only.
December bill, you'll see 20% of it each year for 5 years, and you can pay it off anytime. It's a lien on the property, so if the property changes ownership, it has to be paid off. But it's a great deal because it's interest-free for 5 years. It's just split up. The $77 would not be split up over 5 years. That'll be a one-time hit. And if that's not paid off by probably
October 1.
October 1st, then it'll go on the tax bill the next year, on the December tax bill.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to approve resolution 2025-01-14-07, authorizing the replacement of the non-compliant sidewalk flags and the treasurer to assess the property owners for the work completed or the one-time opt-out permit fee of $77 for District 4 sidewalk replacement program.
Second.
Second.
I have one question, Jeremy. When they pay, where's the place where they handle getting the the fee, or they pay the fee, or how do they, how's this, it's not the building department, so I'm trying to understand.
It's gonna
Treasurer.
come out of my office. It'll be invoiced.
So it'll be invoiced
Yeah.
by the treasurer's office?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's gonna be set up as its own special assessment district.
that's right. We've never done it this way, so this is the first time
Yeah,
of
it'll be set up
sorting.
as its own SAD if they opted out, and then I'll invoice and give people at least 30 days, hopefully to pay it. Sometimes if the contractor is delayed in the summer, it can get a little tight in there. But the goal will be to get those invoiced probably by, middle of September and give people till November 1st to pay it off. It's only $77, so it's not gonna kill anybody.
So we're creating two special assessment districts, correct? One for the permit fee or the fee, the opt-outs, and one for the people who are actually getting the work. We're trying this is the first time, so.
Just so you know, you don't have to pay for a permit to get the work done. So
You
that's-
won't actually be issued a permit.
Yeah, so don't confuse those two things.
Really, the word permit probably shouldn't be in there. It
Yeah.
should just go
Fee.
opt-out fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some communities do. We're going to award the contract to one of the bidders that we received several bids, I think 6, in October. Jeremy, you can give us a little detail, and you can put the bids up there. You can see where some people really didn't want the work. Their bids are extremely high. They thought that maybe there would be a sucker if they got somebody like that, then they'd do the work.
No, we received six bids. They were relatively competitive, which is great to see. The pricing is actually very similar, almost identical to 2023, which is great to see too, because we've generally seen inflation throughout time with those. So Santos Cement is a company that's been in business quite a long time. We called their references. Some of our engineers actually worked with them in different cities and different communities and had good success with them. So we're hopeful that they'll do a great job this year.
You say it's approximately the 2022 price level?
2023 price level.
All right, we need a motion? Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, so it's your recommendation, Mr. Supervisor, and with Spalding the Decker for Santos Cement. Thank you. Motion?
Yes.
I move to adopt resolution number 2025-01-14-08, authorizing the Board of Trustees to approve the award of District 4 Sidewalk Replacement Program to Santos Cement in the amount of $337,654.60.
Have a second?
Second by Borba. Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Groth.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So Jeremy, since we're starting earlier than ever on the program, let's see what lessons learned we have. Hopefully the contractor doesn't have any excuses, I'm not ready, or you're late, or whatever.
Right.
That is commendable, Mr. Supervisor.
All right, next item is number 6. This is money, fiscal year 2025 budget amendments and carry forward adjustments that Elizabeth Cuddy, our finance director, will take us through. In fact, one of the items in here is to finish off the Powell Road gap, sidewalk gap. So we'll talk about that in a bit.
All right, good evening. Tonight, I'm bringing a very brief amendment to you for approval. Contained in here is detail related to these amendments. So on page 194 of the packet, which is up here on the screen, I'm asking for $1,025,544 in budget amendments. And I want to comment, first of all, over 800,000 of that million is for, to carry over purchase orders that were approved last year. So for various reasons, work didn't get done in time, the schedule changed, et cetera, those POs needed to be carried forward as work will be completed sometime this year.
Thank you.
So the money wasn't spent, the budget
Correct.
carries over? Okay.
Correct, yeah. So when we have a situation like that, the money is unspent, as Bob said, and that unspent money will go into the fund balance at the end of 2024. And all this is doing is just moving the expenditure amount for the PO from one year to the next. So this is not additional spending in 2025, this is just shifting from one year to the next. The big share of the $1,025,000 is in the general funds and the capital improvement funds. And if you look on page 195, which Bob has up on the screen right now, this is an itemized listing of the items that either POs that are being carried forward or additional appropriations that have been requested. The Supervisor Kermy has asked that we put $110,000 in the technology budget for purposes of hiring an additional full-time employee in that department, just as just for succession planning, if you will, and additional assistance, as that department is pretty busy.
Pretty lean.
Yeah, they are.
And that amount?
That's IT.
That's, yeah, but that amount is the total package, right? That isn't the actual wage.
No.
Okay, that's everything.
No.
She can confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 110, including
Is all
some
in,
benefits.
That's
yeah.
everything, okay.
Does he expect any offset from outside contracting fees? Because we use
I would
outside.
imagine, yes.
There may be some.
We haven't gone that deep into it yet, but yes, definitely.
And I like
There
that
should be.
thinking. When you add, you should come up with an offset.
There should be some, hopefully.
That's a good idea. So,
We use the outside consultants that we use are for, high-end, should be high-end or specialized skills, but hopefully he'd be able to do some of that, some more of that in-house.
Sure.
well, but we added back in some cybersecurity that was not in the original base budget. It was there in 2024, but it was not in the 2025 budget. But the biggest threat to this township is cyber attacks. We've had some local, White Lake Township had a big one that cost $29 million in December. So that can damage you in a hurry.
Yep. Another expenditure that we are anticipating that we've added $20,000 for is for the sidewalk gap projects on the south side of Powell Road.
And I think somebody was stating there was a sidewalk to nowhere gap. That's what this is to cover on Powell, on the south side.
Right.
The north side was extremely expensive, over $300,000 to build it. So we switched to the south side and went the easy way to give a route for residents in that western end. They have to cross a road, but it is something that'll happen quick and is affordable.
Yep.
Right here.
So just a couple of the POs that are getting carried forward, just for your information. The battalion chief's vehicle that was approved last year for purchase, that is being carried forward because obviously the vehicle is not here yet, but it has been ordered.
Yeah.
So, and that was $250,000.
Yeah, and I'd still like to do more work on that. I'm just agonizing over a $250,000 vehicle that doesn't have anything special other than a very nice box. I think it's an F-250, is it an F-250 or 350?
That'll be a 350, but it's also a truck we're gonna have for probably over 20 years.
Right, I'm talking about the new one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna probably have it for 20 years.
We will.
Yeah, and then we can take that box and remount it on a new chassis at that time. I'm looking at and that's the one thing I'm looking with the ambulance manufacturer we're using now, looking at remounting these vehicles, you're saving about 20% off the the cost of a new one.
So you remove the boxes and put them on the new chassis in
Correct.
the future.
But what if you said you're having trouble with that, meaning that you're concerned about it, what option do
It's
we
a high
have at
price.
this point? Yeah, what option do we
Well,
have
you
at this
could,
point?
you could modify the PO, or you could cancel the PO and go to another supplier
So the
with
PO can be canceled?
another design, but I don't know. But you can, I don't know, but
Well, I'm asking the question because in light of the problems and the difficulties we're having with the fire department and the concerns with lack of manpower, it seems to me that that $250,000 could be better spent going towards perhaps replacement manpower personnel. And I'm new to the board, but I think I'd rather see that money go that way.
all right, I know that's what raised the flag originally, that the chassis is probably $60,000, but which is the engine and the cab. So the box is a pretty expensive box. So I don't know, I haven't had time to get into it, I don't know the answer, but the purchase order was placed August 28th. But there is a lead time.
And Jerry, you made a point.
Well,
Could that open us up to litigation?
Well, what I'm worried about is that we approved it in our budget from the year before for that year, and then it's been ordered, and they've started building it. You've got part performance of a contract, Mr. Lawyer.
Well, if they've started building it, we don't know. The lead time is over 1 year, is that right?
Around that, hopefully we'll get it in 25. With this supply chain issues, but I'm hoping the end of 25 we'll get it, like.
So it's not even in.
Fourth quarter.
Production, yeah.
Pardon?
The whole truck body business has exceedingly long lead times right now.
So
it's
is this
not in
something,
production
is this
at this
custom
point.
built in some way for us?
The chief.
There's specific guys who do certain types of bodies, and there's some folks that I can show you some images.
This is a rescue body. This is specifically a rescue body. And this is not a stall body or a nap hide body that's not going to have the longevity that this has. This box is designed, as I said, to be remounted. It's a robust body. This company originally builds for DTE. They built a lot of DTE type trucks. It's a very heavy truck.
Is it aluminum body or steel?
It's aluminum. I'm sorry? 350. It's on a single axle.
So it's dual wheels?
It's a single.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a unicycle?
One tire per side.
As to the question of whether or not the township could rescind the purchase order, that would depend on the terms of the purchase order.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, proceed,
Okay.
Ms. Keating.
All right. The other two large purchase orders that are being carried over, one of them is for the new radios for the police department. We knew that we would be paying for them in 2025, however, we had to have a purchase order to the vendor so that they could begin the process. So that's $273,000 is what is being carried forward for that.
Now, originally, we were gonna have to spend almost double of that because we needed radios for the fire department, but the fire department was able to acquire a grant, is that not correct?
Correct. Grant that we had, $300,000 grant roughly, that we only have to pay $30,000 of. So it's a
Thank you.
$270,000 offset.
Thank you for doing that.
That's PO 692 in the list, correct? Ends in 692? Fire department radios? That's what it's called out, the fourth line.
Yeah.
Fourth line from the bottom, 692. Four, yeah. It's right next to the
Yeah, I
battalion
see
chief
it.
vehicle.
I see it. Yep. Yeah. So the third PO is, and it escapes me for a moment what it's actually for. I apologize, I didn't write it down.
Siren maintenance? No, that's a small one.
No, it's in the water and sewer fund. There was a large repair that.
Oh, that was for
Patrick-
the underground, for the fuel tank
Right.
leak
I-
monitoring system?
I believe so, I'm not positive,
I think
but
that's what it was for.
that's $223,000. So Patrick has informed me that, that needed to be carried forward. His work is still continuing, so.
Hold on, I'm trying to figure out where that is on here. Oh, I see it,
It's
the
down
bottom,
towards the bottom of the
one.
page.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So those were the three bigger items of the carry forwards, and that's all I have.
Good. Ready for a motion?
Well, is there any discussion?
Okay.
Nobody has any comments? That's all right.
But carry forwards. I move that the Plymouth Township Board of Trustees hereby adopt Resolution 2025-01-14-09.
Second.
Second by Trustee Stewart. Clerk Borba, yes. Supervisor Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Excuse me, 1 second, please. Trustee Growth?
No.
No. And trustee, excuse me very much, Clinton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, number 7, Resident Canada Goose Management Program. The state of Michigan DNR requires a permit be endorsed by the local municipality to allow homeowners associations and individuals to hire geese management companies to reduce the number of geese around ponds and in parks. So that's what this is. They've made some changes. The biggest change is they can't relocate them anymore. They used to trap them and relocate. They're not allowing that anymore.
So what do they do?
Well, a lot of them will be euthanized and used for food at shelters. So it's somewhat of a, it's a very managed program. They made some big changes in October, or this late fall of 2024. And so some resident homeowners associations have asked to be able to do this, but in order to do it, you have to have, this is one of the requirements, a signed resolution for transport, capture, hold, egg nest destruction, and euthanasia of geese from a government agency representative or representative of the riparian lakefront owners. So that's what we're doing. This is kind of a formality that allows other people to manage geese, and Plymouth Township if we decide to do that in our parks. Geese, unfortunately, are the carrier of some nasty diseases that usually require the health department to stop at your house, like Giardia. They don't fly south as much as they used to, warmer climate, also have accessibility to food. So I'm asking for approval of this for our residents and others in the township that want to participate in the program.
Mr. Supervisor,
Pardon? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
did you have a question, Jerry? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
No.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the attached Resident Canada Goose Management Program, Resolution 2025-01-14-10 for calendar year 2024 through 2029.
Is that, I wonder if that's a typo. Shouldn't it say 2025? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's change that to 2000.
25
25?
instead of 24.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's 4 years.
So amended.
All right.
I second. Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Kermy?
Yes.
Supervisor Kermy, apologize. Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Trustee Growth?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Trustee Clinton?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we're back to public comments on anything goes here with, whether it's an agenda or non-agenda item.
Can I speak one more time?
3 minutes.
Oh, yeah, you have 3 minutes.
3 minutes, sure. William Ikes, 12855 Hidden Creek Drive, right. I'm glad to see the president of the union here for the firefighters. I think that's great, right? The problem state is certainly different than what has been talked about and bannered about, which is wonderful. So that's a finite problem, right? And I basically wanted to share the fact that this township map is very valuable, okay? It's used by HVA for plotting their routes. It's probably used by the fire department and the police too. So why I'm here and what I want to share with you is the only data we could find was this 2010 report from 2010. Okay, that was the city of Plymouth. Now, mind you, the city of Plymouth
report?
Yeah, IMCA is a consultant that went out to try to map delivery times for the police, the fire, and the EMS. And back in 2010, the police response times were the fastest. Fire department was the second. HVA was the third. What's changed from 2010 to 2025 here is the response times have gotten longer. Instead of 1.35 minutes on average back in 2010, it's now 2 minutes for HVA. So that's the first Pareto in the bar you have to look at on why we've lost time, why response times, it may be longer, and if they could get better, I'm all for continuous improvement. The second thing I want to share with you is, if you take a look and we work with HVA, and the fire department works with them, and everyone stays in their own lane, where HVA does the ambulance runs, the firefighters, God bless you, we love you, and thank you. Stay to fighting the fires, right? So we don't pollute each other's data here, and let's see if HVA, with continuous improvement, can make continuous improvement. And being an engineer and thinking about the long-term master plan and being a community of choice here, I want the fastest response times, A, for the police, B, for the firefighters, and C, for the ambulance EMS. It's a win, place, and show. All three would improve. And it's very easy to find solutions like M-Track, EMTRAC. I picked this one, right, because 3M started this. It was 25 years. They've been bought and sold a couple times. They have 3 solutions, right? Now, the 3 solutions I had priced by simply making a phone call yesterday, and here's one more set of documents for you, ladies and gentlemen. There's one each, but please, John, take it and pass it down. I only want to call your attention to what's shaded in green, which is M-Track 1. That's a hardware-based EVP system. They use GPS with 900 megahertz. You can put control units in the 18 HVA units, okay? The GPS allows them to communicate with the lights, right? So if a light is red and you have to slow down, guess what? It knows which direction the HVA unit is going, and it can trigger the light to either stay longer green or quickly switch from a red to a green. The speed turns into seconds, which is critical. And I took a rough stab here at the fire department. If we hired 9 more firefighters, what that would cost. 6 ambulance, fuel, insurance, maintenance. We could spend over $6 million, and this is on the low side, okay? I haven't gone out to get quotes, but everything you see here has been quoted by M-Track. I have that quote with me, and I've got recommendations that are color-coded, right, for every board of trustee to read here. 15 smart signals at the 15 busiest intersections on Sheldon, as well as Andover Road, can claw back 20% time. If you go from 2010 metrics to HVA's 2024, the 85 seconds from the city, which is 7 times smaller than the township, can be clawed back with simple, smart, intelligent lights that are triggered. That's all I want to share with you. My name and number is on here. You, ladies and gentlemen, are welcome to call me at your convenience. Thank you. Any questions?
So, Chief Conley, I think we are considering, at one time we were considering something like this, I'm sorry, so at one time we were considering something like this at Haggerty Road in front of Station 1.
Let me kind of, no one interrupt you, Mr. Supervisor, but currently we are in line for a grant for this very program. What do we look at, 15 lights? So the police department's in on it with us. It's a grant from Conference of Western Wayne, I believe. I have so many grants out there, it's kind of hard to keep them all track where they're coming from. But we actually, I believe it's been approved, and that's going to be probably, hopefully implemented this year for the fire department, so we have to pay a certain amount for each vehicle. It's kind of a little murky, and it's been at the chief's meetings a few times. We had a presentation in Wayne back last year about it, and each community can get so many lights activated, and so many, and we have to pay the activation in the vehicles, I believe. Chief Nightel and I have been working on this together. It's kind of we are going down that road already for the fire department and the police department as well.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is we had, the fire chief and I went through, very similar to what you did, sir, and identified the areas of that we would be responding and looked at the traffic signals that we would be using the most. And those were the ones that we identified and pushed those back to the Conference of Western Wayne.
And the old, when they used to do these, you could build devices to hack them, right? But you can't do that
Yeah, this is
anymore.
totally, I believe it's satellite based now. It's totally
that
high
was
tech.
Yesterday's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's encrypted, it's GPS, satellite, there's a remote controller that goes in the box at the light, there's a unit that goes in the vehicle, right? And they're not, it's something that can't be hacked, which is a concern, which, you know, most people don't even think about, so I applaud you for bringing that up, Bob.
All the lights are green all the time for me.
Time is critical.
State people.
Hi, I'm Julie Spencer. I live on Greystone. Is there any plan to continue the sidewalk on this side of the Haggerty from Greystone to Ann Arbor Trail?
Greystone to Ann Arbor Trail.
The sidewalk on the west side.
On the west side.
No, we'd have to obtain easements from all of those property owners, which can be a challenge. If there's a development,
Yeah.
then it would come.
I was just curious.
Right now, it's just on the east
Usually
side.
I cross the street, I go
Absolutely,
down
yeah.
on the
No,
east
no worries.
side, I go across at Ann Arbor Trail, and I've been nearly killed many times crossing Haggerty to go down to town.
We're
Because
glad you're
people-
still here.
Because people don't stop for pedestrians. So anyway, that's why I was.
It's on our sidewalk gap master plan, so we do have that area identified. It's just from a year perspective, we don't have that nailed in. We're going segment by segment.
So you're talking about on
Howard
the
Hamrick
west
again.
side?
I think if we seriously look at the activities today and previous meetings, we can see there's a lot of information that needs to be shared, compiled, and analyzed. I really don't know that, sorry, township trustees have the number of hours in a day to look at all the normal things, budget, et cetera, that we just went through, and then analyze recommendations for public safety and response times and controlling light systems. You need someone else working on this project to bring something intelligent to you to look at in a very organized manner. Some people have volunteered today to bring that kind of thing in, but it seems to me that you're going to be very hard pressed as trustees to analyze this. You have commissions, most boards do, and you basically allow your commission to bring a recommendation to you, and that commission's recommendation is for you to discuss and act on and critique it and ask those members of the commission why they made a decision. I seriously doubt that each and every one of you are going to have the time and energy to spend on this public safety concern. Thank you for your time.
I wasn't planning on this, but I'd like to say that I'd like to keep this a safe family community. As you know, I was very injured. My life changed when I was rear-ended in a motor vehicle accident. You've seen the effects of it. My life will never be the same. We've been traveling and I see billboards, "Don't drive high." On our latest trip, we saw many memorials, crosses along highways, probably due to alcohol, drugs, marijuana, who knows? I have to agree with the fellow that came up that there's also research showing more negative effects of marijuana use. And I have also read about it triggering schizophrenia. I understand that marijuana use is very useful at end of life, but I don't want to make it easy to contribute to the end of life of people who don't need to die needlessly. I don't think this is something we need in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. 2 hours.
Hi, Alex Wassel.
in Heather Hills. I'm a resident for the last 25 years. What I want to address is regarding the amount of calls that both police and fire are sent to on the two major freeways in our community, 275 and M14. I wonder if there's any way to get compensation from the state for the expenses incurred by Plymouth Township when we service accidents and fires on that roadway. If we could, that would be great. It would help with the fire department and the police department budget. I don't know if that's possible. I hope somebody on the board could look into it and see if we could utilize that as funding. Thank you very much.
So at one time, that was available. We did try it. Maybe we need to look at, I don't know if it's still allowed by law to collect from automobile crashes. But at one time it was, about at least 10 years ago. But many people are reluctant to do it because then it appears to be
Policing for profit.
mean-spirited, because look, I've been injured and now you're charging me.
Well, I'm thinking from
In
the
West
state.
Michigan, it is done by some communities in rural areas
Right.
where they invoice vehicle insurance companies for services required for vehicle crashes.
Yeah.
But you were actually looking at us getting some reimbursements from the state,
Right.
not individual.
Well, from the state or I didn't think about the insurance companies, but that would work for me. That's why they're there to pay out liability, right? Okay,
So
thank you again.
when there's a fuel spill, we do collect still, right?
Yes.
Hazardous material spill.
Yes,
So-
in a larger instance, we do a cost recovery.
So we're gonna be working on that. That's a good idea. We need to see if that's possible again.
And we do, if we transport someone and they have insurance, we bill the insurance, so we do get some.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, my name's Eileen Coleman. I just had a couple questions. So the protocol, if somebody could clarify this would probably be the fire chief. So the protocol now, 911 comes in, it goes to the police. Is that correct?
It goes to the Plymouth Township Dispatch Center.
Yes, and then
It's in the police department, but they dispatch us. They are our
okay,
primary
and then the
dispatch center.
firefighters are dispatched right away, and then the call goes to HVA. Is that correct?
Yes. when
And
it's-
then HVA does what's called a triage. Okay, so
We
have-
do the same. We triage it as well. Usually our one dispatcher will be sending the call to HVA as they're dispatching, and the other
But
one will
not
be
an
dispatching us.
EMD triage, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Not in
So-
Plymouth Township.
Right, which is a
HVA
more
provides that.
specific, it gives a lot more data, it's probably a clearer path of like when you get to that call, what that is, what to expect, and also what treatment plan you would be implementing.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, so, and then from HVA, they put it into this Pro QA, and then it is decided whether it's emergency or non-emergency, lights and sirens or not lights and sirens, is that correct?
I can't speak for them.
Okay, so then they will go out. So there's a redundancy here because you've already gone out, then HVA is gonna go out. So you're gonna have a double use of resources to any given call coming in. Do you respond to all medical calls that come in?
We do.
Okay, so
And
there's
that's pretty much the standard in southeastern Michigan, and that's the standard you want.
for all calls, you have double calls going out for whatever the call comes in?
Yes, in other communities, they will send a fire engine along with the ambulance. We typically send the ambulance by itself.
Okay.
If it's a serious call, we'll send more than one station, or if station one is fully staffed with 4 personnel that day, then 4 personnel will go, 2 will go in the engine, and 2 will go in the ambulance.
It just seems to me, and I'm not I'm not.
We need quite a few personnel just for a single medical.
For a single medical,
Yes. Usually 4 people is optimal.
because any call that comes in requires that much support?
Yes.
Okay, that's surprising to me. Yeah, so, and then the HVA joins you at that site? Like you go and then HVA will join you at that site?
Correct,
And
if
then
they're
you take care of
available.
the patient, and then they transport them, or you transport them, and how is
If-
that decision made? Who's transporting them?
If they're not there within a timely fashion, our paramedics, they do the assessment, and once the patient's ready to go to the hospital, if HVA is not there yet, which is typically after that 10-minute window of the contract, then they go.
Do you
There
ever
are
do-
also situations where the personnel request us. I think one gentleman said he requested us to take him to the hospital. We will take them. There can be a situation if someone is in critical condition, we don't care if they go with us, we don't care if they go with HVA, we're going as soon as we possibly can because that's the situation warranted.
I just think this protocol has to be looked at very carefully. And maybe it could be, the communication be probably shortened up and maybe a little bit quicker between the two branches that are doing identical things. The other thing I wanted everyone to know about HVA is that they currently are present in 3 places in Plymouth Township. So in the morning at 5:30, they start at Goldsmith in Sheldon, and they have a unit there. At 5 in Sheldon, at 6:30, a critical care unit comes. It's a specialized unit. They're nationally accredited in critical care for ventilators, balloon pumps, cath lab. They're the highest level of transport that's available. Their second qualifications to helicopters. So they're highly skilled. It's a highly skilled unit that stays in Plymouth Township. And then there's a third unit that comes on at 7:30, and the whole understanding of how HVA works and how they flex around this whole region, that needs to be studied and analyzed. And actually, this is a beautiful resource that we've had. They transported during COVID. They did almost all the transports during COVID. We need to respect them, and we need to work with them so that we have them available as a very good resource for our people.
Thank you. I'd just like to say one thing. There's 2 sides to every story. So if we could have one of the firefighters speak on what she just spoke about, please. Just so we can get the other side of the story. And also maybe if you could touch on the continuity of care. So Eileen, you spoke of redundancy and that, the 2 dispatches go out. Well, when they do show up, we also have to now move that patient that has been triaged by our paramedics, and it has to be repeated onto the HVA transport as well. So could we please hear from the firefighters in response?
Well, actually, let me, before that, I want to thank Chris. I want to thank Bill Light. Pardon, I'm going to be crude. Bob, don't get mad at me. But this has kind of been an aw shit discussion for a while. And from some of the things that folks like Chris and Bill Ike have talked about, there's a real opportunity for this to be a good thing. Chris has talked about being positive and working with folk. Chris and Ian, thank you. Bill talked about tools that you can use, value assessment change. You can talk about using Pareto analysis. There is AI availability information from the folks at HVA. There are tools and structured innovation, all of which can find whole opportunities that people aren't even looking at. And as the conversation migrates to that, which is very positive, we may find that there are all sorts of opportunities we haven't even thought about. So instead of casting aspersions on folks, what we need to do is get together, collect data, and come up with positive things that address fundamental needs for the fire department, importantly, fundamental needs for the residents. And be smart, use tools that folks here in the community already have that can help with the professional analysis that you've been talking about. So anyways, thanks, guys.
It should continue to be noted that the issues that the paramedics are bringing here is a staffing issue. Okay, I hope we're listening to that, because we keep talking about data. We're talking about HVA, no matter what, they still need more manpower.
Jen, it's not your time to talk.
That's not the issue.
We can have a discussion. You spoke out of turn as well, sir.
We know that. You don't have to say, listen to me. Listen to them. Listen to the residents.
I have been listening to them.
Yes, you haven't been listening to the residents.
Yes, I have. I'm here for the residents as well.
Okay. I got a question for the chief. Why do we respond?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got a question for the chief. Why do we respond with a fire truck when it's an ambulance run?
Why do we respond? Well, if it's backing the ambulance up, for instance, Station 1, other communities staff a station with 4 personnel. We staff our stations typically, our outstations are staffed with 2 personnel. The only time we're staffed at 4 personnel in a station is when Station 1 has 4 personnel that day. and no one's off, that's the only time it's staffed with 4 personnel. So that engine is covered, and then the ambulance is covered out of that station. So that engine is backing up that ambulance, and that ambulance is backing that engine up. So say there's a fire call, the ambulance crew is gonna be working for fire service. If it's a medical call, the engine crew is gonna be working on the EMS side. Our engines are all licensed, the same medical license, advanced life support, as our ambulances as well. So they can also provide the care, in ladder 3 and engine 1 can. So if they're caught out on a call in the truck, they can provide the care to a call as well, and start those life-saving interventions.
Potty break
Yeah, let's do a potty break first here,
or whatever.
for 5 minutes. Would that be helpful for people?
Yes.
Okay.
Jerry?
Right? And he gets involved in stuff he shouldn't get involved in.
It's 9 o'clock.
Causes a problem.
It's 9 o'clock.
Right, and I just
Sleepy
want
bear
you to know
time.
that I wasn't trying to throw him under the bus. I want to make sure.
Yeah, last time was 10:45. Yeah.
Was it 10:45 last time?
Man, in the old days, they used to go to
I'm leaving.
midnight.
I'm leaving.
Planning commission used to
You
go to
and me,
midnight.
and the police will back you up.
So we're on the same
They
page
say
with
it's worse
that.
than alcohol.
And I just want you to know, it was not personal at all.
I don't think it is.
It is.
I totally
I don't
agree.
think any of that stuff is.
I don't want to see it in Plymouth Township.
All right. We're reconvening. We're still in public comments. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Tell us who you are again.
The board, yes, again, thank you so much for hearing from us. My name again is Chris Smith. I am the president of Plymouth Township Firefighters Local 1496. And next to me is firefighter Joe Tacoma. He's going to speak in just a moment. Again, I want to address a couple things. Number one, it was brought up that we might have to buy ambulances and do other things. That's absolutely accurate, except for that we already own them. So what we're doing is replacing ambulances. We're replacing medical supplies. We're replacing the equipment that we use. We own 4 ambulances, and all of them are advanced life support, which is the best pre-hospital emergency care that is on the road. So the department has been very, forward-thinking in that. They started that program a long time ago. Every member of the fire department is a paramedic. So we do a dual role. We respond to every single medical that comes out. We respond to every single fire that comes out. And when you split those two apart, fire becomes very expansive. We have fires, we have down power lines, we have gas leaks, we have cats stuck in trees, honestly. We have everything, right? If the police don't respond to it, the fire department does. So what we're looking at as far as this medical side and the fire side, we do a joint job. And that job on the medical side is in cooperation with HVA. On the fire side, it is not, because they are not firefighters, right? So again, I don't want to focus on HVA as being the issue or the problem. The issue is the low staffing. And when it comes to whether we're on a medical or not, and it was brought up again, I'm sorry, about responding with 4 people or 2 different pieces of apparatus. A lot of times when the run comes in, it comes in as an emergent run. We hear it as, a possible stroke or a possible heart attack. We're going to send an appropriate number of resources to that run to handle it in a very efficient, timely fashion, just like other communities do. The difference is if we know where HVA is coming from, then we will pull back some of those resources on our end. And we will only send 1 unit out into the field, and HVA responds as well. So they do serve that role of the other unit. However, if we don't know where they're coming from or we can't find that out in a timely fashion, we still send our backup unit. What that does is it allows us to provide, again, efficient, proper care and get the patient to the hospital in a timely fashion. If HVA shows up, we turn over care, we go back to quarters. If they don't, we transport the patient to the hospital. That is the medical run, and then we have all of the fire stuff as well. So if we're out on a medical, it takes at least 2 of our firefighters out of service, if not 4 of our firefighters out of service, leaving only 2 firefighters in the community to handle anything else that comes in. If we're out on a possible heart attack and a car accident comes in on M14, we have 2 firefighters available to respond to a car accident on M14. That is why I'm addressing this. That is why I'm saying we're critically low staffed. It's not that we're not working with HVA or not interested in that. It is that we just can't support our own run volume with the numbers that we have.
Hey, Chris, question for you. For at least the last 10 years, this board has been told that 8 on duty was full staffing.
Yes, sir.
What has changed?
So I would not say 8 on duty is full staffing. I'm the president of the union. I am not in charge of the department. I usually don't speak at all to the board. I would not say that 8's full. I think the message might have been misconstrued that we are a fully staffed department, meaning we don't have any vacancies. I don't know that that's the case or not. I would let the fire chief address that. I don't want to speak on his behalf. What I would say is, from a professional in the profession, staffing a truck is the most important thing that we can do for the community. If we have an ambulance in the station, it should be staffed. If we have a fire engine in the station, it should be staffed.
You're saying staffed by pieces of equipment?
Staffed by personnel, Mr.
No,
Supervisor.
but the equipment has dedicated staff to them?
Correct. Like, that's how every community.
That's how the neighbors do it?
Yeah, everybody, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, you staff apparatus. So by nature, you have an engine and ambulance in a station, there would be 4 people at that station, minimally.
Where would they sleep?
We have enough room in all of our stations for that, save for Station 2. Station 2 is a very small 2-person station. So the idea of staffing the apparatus would be like the run that was brought up about there were victims in a fire and the police rescued them, and our police did a phenomenal job. We give them extreme credit for their heroism. We were out on a medical, and because that 2-person station at the time was out on a medical, the fire engine was not available to respond to that fire. So that fire was right down the street from the station, but we had to wait for mutual aid and for fire engines from our 2 outstations to respond. So that's all I'm trying to address, is that we have, I think, a situation that might not be so transparent, so apparent to the community, and that's what we're trying to address.
And can you guys talk about the continuity of care, that redundancy for when HVA does come to transport, if they come?
Thank you, yes. So the question was, can we speak about the redundancy? The continuity of care, correct, and the redundancy. So as was explained earlier, what happens when you as a citizen calls 911 is you go to our dispatch center, they answer the phone, they will do a quick kind of triage on what happens. Is it a fire run? Is it a police run? Is it a medical run? They might get a few more details, and they're the professionals. They have their own protocol, and then they send a medical run that necessitates an ambulance response to HVA and simultaneously dispatch us to that run. So we will take our closest ambulance to that run. HVA, if they're available, if they're in the area, however that may work, we anticipate that they're responding as well. So we will ask for an update to find their location. If they are in fact coming, then we can cancel other units coming. If they arrive on scene, we can turn over care, we can return to quarters, that type of thing. So what happens is you're going to give your story to our dispatch center, and then you're going to give that story to HVA as well, because they're going to do the EMD. And then we are going to show up and we're going to start to assess you as a medical patient. And this is, again, specifically to medical runs. We're going to assess your medical need. We're going to find out, was it actually a heart attack, or is this, angina, or is it anxiety or something else, right? We have to figure that out. And then we determine our treatment plan based on that. When HVA shows up, we take all of that information and we pass it along to HVA. So the continuity of care thing, there's a delay there in the fact that we're transferring everything that we've done in all of our care over to them. They're going to take their own cardiac monitor. They're going to assess the patient on their own and make sure that, they have medical licenses, and those licenses are on the line. If they simply take my word for it, it could jam them up. If I simply took their word for something, it could jam me up. So being 2 different agencies working together, we verify the information that's given beyond, between the 2. I'm sorry, way over time. But that's how a medical scene will work. And then depending on who's there or not, depends on who transports to the hospital. And of course, the severity of the call. I brought Firefighter Tacoma up to give you a little bit more insight on that. I apologize. Every firefighter in this room, save for one, has worked in private EMS before. So we all have done HVA's job prior to becoming firefighters, not with HVA, all of us, but Joe has. So he just wanted to speak on that and answer any other clarifying questions that you might have. Thank you.
So you got 3 minutes.
Okay, so like I said, my name's Joe Tacoma, firefighter here. And the reason I'm speaking is I did work for HVA for a year and a half. So I know their system. I'm not here to bash HVA or anything like that, but there is a little bit of misconception when someone brings up the mobile intensive care unit. That is only for hospital to hospital transfers. We have the exact same equipment on our ambulances as they do. And I would say one a little better, we are both paramedics. HVA has alternate staffing, a paramedic and an EMT. And when you have a kid not breathing, you have a stroke, a cardiac arrest, you want as many paramedics on scene as possible. Every second matters. We work together, we sleep together at the station. I can trust these guys. When I say start an IV, put them on the monitor, I know it's going to get done. You need guys that know how the system works that you can trust. So they'll also bring up too, why you get a fire truck and an ambulance. Because we never know what we're gonna get in. Someone calls 911, they are not thinking clearly. They don't know exactly what is going on. We want as many hands there as possible to deal with the situation, and then we can clear them if we don't need them. But if we need 4 people there, we need 4 people there right away. And to speak to HVA, like I said, the MICU is just for hospital interfacility transfers. They do not stay in one area in the township. They could be at 5 Mile Sheldon, they can be at Kroger, they can be in New Hudson, Belleville. They roam around. So I'm not bashing their modeling like that. But just when you see an ambulance, that's just where it has that second. There is not 6 ambulances coming out of Plymouth, staying in Plymouth. 4 ambulances can get sent right to U of M for transfers. So just to clarify some things here, that we are lucky if we get one HVA ambulance, we know where they're at here, but there's no one stationary point where they always are at. So if you have anything clear up here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna finish up with Joe's couple seconds here and say that obviously there's a lot to unpackage here. Obviously that there is a lot of information that I think that the public and the board probably wants to unravel and learn about. And we are here as that resource. We're here to communicate with you, to let you know what's going on, and to give you everything that you might need as far as answers from our end.
Yeah, but with all due respect,
yes, sir.
You're going about it all wrong. The way you're going about this is wrong. And all you're doing is driving a wedge between the firefighters union and the board.
Excuse me, I didn't hear them saying that today. I hear them saying, they came up here and were very nice.
I'm not talking about this conversation. I'm talking about the campaign broadly. You're going about it wrong, and I have the floor, Jerry.
Okay, I was just recognizing that.
With all due respect.
Be specific, Bob. What
I
is
don't
it
wanna
that
be
bothers you about it?
You know, calling this board a bunch of clowns. How about that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Trustee, I'm not aware of that one.
I can show you the screenshots off of social media where your own firefighter called this board a bunch of clowns. And I don't want to get into that. I didn't want to get into that tonight because I wanted to talk about, if you want to be constructive and proactive, and you want to work with this board, that is not the way to do it.
Noted, thank you.
I don't think the public needs to be instructed on First Amendment, Bob.
It's not First Amendment,
Bob,
Jerry. It's about, do you want to work collaboratively?
So you're saying you would punish them
it's a
because
hot-
someone
I'm not
said
saying I would
clowns?
punish
and
anybody.
provide
I'm saying they're
staffing
going
for them?
about it wrong. I never
People have
said
said
punish
terrible things
anybody.
about
Well, that's
me
how
and
you're
other
coming
people.
across.
It's part of the job, and it's First Amendment. And you just heard Zuckerberg talk about, oh gee, we're real sorry that we silenced people.
Okay,
So
but first.
we're not gonna silence people.
You guys, anybody who's worked in the private sector knows that social media is a place where your employer will discipline you for making disparaging remarks about your company. We know lots of people who have lost a promotion or lost a job for that. So it is true, it goes on, that social media is usually a policy in corporations.
That's not in the public sector. You can't do it and you won't get away with it.
I think that, well, I think people have some, we have a social media policy. We have a social media policy.
Counselor?
Well, we're not going to get into a debate about that.
You brought it up.
What? No, jeez. I brought up,
You brought up you're gonna punish people, is what
I
you
didn't
said.
say that. I did not say punish. I said, in the private sector, and that's what some of us come from.
You're making the analogy. That's not what this is.
Yeah,
This is the
no.
public sector.
Well-
And you could say anything you want about a
I can
public
tell you
person.
our police department does not use social media in the same manner, and I think they have a
Amen.
policy.
Counselor.
They have bad
As a
guys
general
looking after
rule,
them.
the First Amendment only applies to governments. It does not apply to private corporations. However, the devil is always in the details with respect to governmental entities and social media policy.
So, anyway, you can see that one thing I can say for myself is I'm confused now because on December 10th, the issue was HVA.
Yes, it was.
And it handed out 100 CAD page data about HVA and their poor performance. So there's really two issues going on, is what it sounds like, and maybe you don't know exactly which one you want to pursue right now. I don't know.
There's actually three because and they've kind of been munged together. There is dispatch is a conversation in and of itself because I'm not sure that people are aware that if our dispatch is not EMD certified, which is not, to get to that point is a long process.
Could be 2 years.
It could be 2 years.
Because of the backlog from Clemmis for hardware and software training.
So I think that extending the HVA contract, because of that dispatch, there's kind of three things that have been munged together. We have heard that the medical transports should be done. There was a play to eliminate HVA and do the medical transports, and you said here tonight, Chris, that that was not your agenda. But there's also
The
a
July 9th
staffing.
contract, that was in the.
Yeah,
July
there's a
9th.
discussion about the staffing being, for our firefighter staffing being not at the level that it needs to be in order to deliver the services. But with the dispatch, I think it was the right move to extend the HVA contract because of this. HVA is losing money, and if we had not extended that contract, they could have easily made a business decision the next day to come in and say, we're going to pull out of Plymouth Township. And then what? Because we're not prepared in any way, shape, or form to take on transports and to take on dispatch. And so that's what we got to think about. It was the right decision to extend it. I'm not opposed to doing analysis in the meantime to see about reformation of the fire delivery service. But imagine, think about that for a minute. If we had terminated their contract on December 10th and they came in on December 11th and said, it doesn't make sense for us to be in Plymouth Township anymore because we're losing money, we have no contract, so we're just gonna pull out.
Well, I thought we had it in our budget to hire 3 firefighters.
It's not in the budget.
But
Not in the
dispatch,
budget, but that was in their letter of agreement.
But
So what's
dispatch-
going on with that?
you can't do
Well, there's
dispatch.
the firefighters are the experts here. What would you say
Why
about
aren't
the
we hearing from the
dispatch?
chief too?
Or the fire chief?
Why don't?
How would we handle dispatch?
Our dispatchers we had that conversation before. Chief Nytel actually that's his department, but we.
Yeah, we'd have to add one dispatcher. We'd have to have 4 on each shift.
And then they would have to be trained, which I believe Cindy Fell had within a year, having everyone trained.
That's correct.
Yes.
But that doesn't
there's
mean
a
we have the
transition.
hardware and the software from Clemmis,
Correct.
which has a 2-year lead time.
Which is a separate issue from staffing. So you may need.
The Clemmis isn't the software for
You may need
EMD.
more staffing now, and
Cle-
if you're gonna do something more in the future, you might need more along with the dispatch training, which may take a year or 2 or
The
whatever.
fire chief's wrong about his
Just stop for a minute.
dispatch
Okay.
services?
I spoke with Chief Nytel. He told me that Clemmis supplies the software and the hardware programming for EMD. Is that
Has to go
correct?
through Clemmis, yes.
Flows through
Okay.
Clemmis. I thought you told me
'Cause our
that isn't the
system
case.
is-
I'm sorry, fire chief, you just said no, it isn't.
I was Chief Nytel knows it more than I do. I was talking to Cindy Fell last year about it, and I thought it was a third party that we didn't have to go through Columbus for it.
So I stand
Yeah,
first.
no
I heard
problem.
I heard
No
right.
problem. Cool.
Okay. And that's where.
Because we were looking at a third, there must have been the training we were looking at, outsourcing is
Yeah,
what
the
it was.
training
Yeah.
is, yes.
So there's two sides of it, training.
There's a
plus,
lot of sides to it,
hardware and software.
and personnel.
And so dispatch has to be certified. Dispatch could not do EMD tomorrow
No.
and not next week. Hiring firefighters takes a long time. Positions are sometimes open for months. Getting 9 to 12 firefighters could take years, isn't that true?
I don't think it would take us that long.
So I have
Chris,
some,
did you want to say something?
yeah, go ahead and.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to clarify that the reason that we brought this up is not to change how dispatch operates, it's not to change how you contract services with outside entities. It was simply to highlight that regardless of that, our ability to respond to runs, given our increase in run volume and the stagnation in personnel, is just something that we wanted to highlight, we need to draw attention to, and we desperately want to have the conversation. That is all. It has whether the dispatchers are EMD or not, as far as our union is concerned, that doesn't, that's up to them. That's up to Chief Nytel, it's up to Chief Conley, it's up to you as the board to make that decision. So.
Yeah, but it's intertwined.
It is.
Intertwined and.
If you want, I'm sorry.
Operation, there's other things to look at that are operational. You were in the meeting, we were talking about the communication.
Yes.
Where we've had our second meeting with HVA. We haven't had a face-to-face meeting with them, a working meeting in maybe a decade. So the communication inside dispatch and how that gets set up is critical to working the issue, which was HVA. And I know that staffing now is part of, you've said that you've changed the paradigm, and now staffing of firefighters is the primary quest that we have going on. And so we need to look at both tails is what you're telling us. But HVA is an extension of the fire department. So it intimately is involved with, affects staffing, because they're the equivalent, at one time, ICMA, of having 4 firefighters, was what ICMA said in their 2010 report.
But they cannot fight a fire.
No, I understand that. So, all right, we're not going to settle this here. No, we're not. We're using, let me give a quick summary. You guys can sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you.
wait till, anybody else have anything to say?
Well, that's going to take 3 minutes just to write the last name, but okay.
P-I-R-C-H.
June Cutter, and I live on North Territorial. By way of background, my ex-husband is a LA County firefighter. He has been sleeping under trucks and out on the front lines, cutting lines most of this week. He comes from a very, very well-trained, pretty well-funded department. They follow a lot of the same procedures that I'm sure we follow here in our community and in communities across the country. I am concerned about some of the discourse that has happened tonight that makes me feel, maybe I'm wrong and I hope I am, that people in this room are going to be changing standard life safety procedures that happen across the country. I don't think any of us are in a position to make those kinds of changes. I think that the scope of our work study, whatever that we agreed to last meeting, should really be focused on the staffing, HVA, our firefighters. Maybe we need to talk about equipment. I think there should be some boundaries set and not reinventing a wheel that has been well honed and working excellently across the country as far as when a call comes, how many people go out, and who goes out and who does what. All across the country,
trucks go out, everybody goes out, and they get recalled back within moments sometimes. That happens. It's going to continue to happen. It's not a perfect world. But there's a lot of things that have been well considered outside of our community. So let's not redo that. We're not the experts in all of that. The other thing that I would like to add is when we are looking at staffing, what we're going to do, we've got today, but we have a big Myers situation that's coming down the road. And we all can predict that they're going to require more calls for service, both for fire and for police, and probably for the EMTs and the ambulances as well. So I think we need to look at what's coming down the road and not just what we have in the next 18 months. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, to that point, I would like to add a comment that I think if we're going to look at this question, we should look at this question more broadly and include police because it's a public safety question. It's not just firefighters, right?
And I believe they're low-staffed as well, is that correct?
Presently.
Yeah, that is correct.
We've had a bunch of retirements.
But they're authorized at an adequate level.
Well, we should
we
look
don't
at
have-
this as
but
a public safety question because ultimately, if this involves a request from the taxpayers for a millage increase, it's going to be a substantial one, and we got to cover police too. Just because the police aren't complaining doesn't mean that they're not short-staffed and that they're adequately staffed for this township. You know, there are times when I don't want to speak numbers because I don't want to put anybody at risk, but there's times when we are very low staffed in terms of police that are out on the road.
We have shifts with no supervisors. That's concerning.
Yeah.
So
I would propose that if we do move forward with studying this question, that we broaden the nature of the question to be a public safety question, not just firefighting, but what is the right staffing level for fire and what is the right staffing level for police?
Okay. Susan Bondi, resident for over 50 years. I have one comment, and I should have probably said this earlier because there were so many more people here. But I keep trying to get people to realize that every month, there is an excellent fire report, and now we do have a police report included in the board packet. And I recommend somehow it moved. It's not in the same spot.
Susan, no, it didn't. It's in the same spot as always.
Really?
I checked that.
Yeah, okay. Anyhow, but it is there, and it's 10 pages long, so there's a lot of detailed information there. And it's been there for years and years, okay? So I call your attention. And then I have a question. It's just something that the fellow from HVA said, that I think he said. So I'd like you to verify it. I believe he said that there were 18 HVA ambulances posted in and around Plymouth Township. I cannot believe that.
That's not true.
Well, I don't think that's what they said. They said there's 18
Okay,
in the garage. Is that right, Carl?
At their location.
What did
At
he
that
say?
location on Goldsmith.
To save on the wear and tear.
Okay, they are not all actually here because, okay.
They're not actually there and
And they're
staffed.
not staffed either.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're
okay.
stationed at that garage.
Okay,
That's their home base.
okay, I got it. Thank you. That's
I
it.
requested from the fire chief to now have this HVA variance chart that will be submitted also with the other fire data points.
Yeah,
Do you wanna
that'll be
explain what
added
that
to my
is?
monthly report. We're still building it out. It's another Clemens thing that we're building the report out.
I've led 2 meetings with HVA and the fire chief, police chief and his staff. We are building, and the fire union and the most recent one, we're building a Clemens report that will take several weeks to prove out. Normally it takes several months, but Chief Nitel has gotten a jump on it. He did that in December, started working on it with Cindy Fell.
So this is to normalize the data?
Yeah, so everybody's using the same database that is tested to give us the metrics we're looking for. So we've had a lot of confusion with a lot of data reported that is totally inconsistent, using a different start time. I don't know the understanding of a lot of the dispatch rules and how the clock starts and stops and who reports where HVA is. It's a well-developed Clemis-based, Clemis is an Oakland County-based software system that is used in dispatch and police. And we pay a fee every year to be part of it. And it's administered by the police department, but it handles dispatch, which is also a department within the police. So we're working to that. We've already had 2 meetings. Had one yesterday. So,
And I wanna-
we
yeah,
won't
I
be
just-
reporting it on the monthly report until we get the right data.
Yeah, and I
Right
want to
stuff.
commend you for that. I'm just curious, at the last board meeting, we talked about this being kind of a board thing. So when will we be invited to be able to sit in and be a part of this like group that's analyzing everything?
Well, you gotta be,
Careful of.
careful of Open
The
Meetings
Open
Act.
Meetings Act, yeah, I was thinking of that, but how can we, because I sent a couple emails to you this month, I didn't get a response as to any updates, discussions, how can I get more information?
Because the work is in process.
Yeah, but could you just give us like an update or, let us know?
I
when we
gave you
email
one by writing, and your response was, it's not enough. So,
I don't understand the snickering,
no, but
honestly.
anyway, I will do that,
It's
but it
not
is the
enough what?
response.
I don't even know what you mean.
You sent it in email in writing, said that, it wasn't adequate.
Did not.
Well, I'll show it to you. He responded with something, and then you responded that it wasn't enough, it's too slow, a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, we
So
will.
we're trying to do something over Christmas, in a slow period of time, and it wasn't fast enough, but I'm working to speed it up. The fire chief must step up and start doing the reporting. He knows the system, he knows the terms. So I can assist, but I don't know the acronyms well enough to adequately report. He's doing an open issues list from our meeting, and he's making minutes.
Good, thank you
So,
for the update.
and we're gonna use that, and it'll take some training, it'll take some time to get it running, but we're getting, at least a dialogue going. We had Culver and Smith from the, fire department in there, for the first time yesterday. And so we were able to get an exchange. We've actually finally written a letter to HVA saying no more BLS, which is basic life support. So we are working this big time
Yeah, I
compared with what
commend
was
you,
going
and
on.
that's why I don't understand the snickering. I was commending you.
I
I appreciate
didn't-
it.
But, okay, so it's a complex issue, but it's been this way, so we're trying to move from a 10-year system to see what we need to do differently. But the critical path is if we decide to delete HVA and staff up or do some other basic staffing, the first critical path is probably a referendum to increase taxes. The next one is to train EMD, emergency medical dispatch, and then hire various people, maybe 1 in dispatch and the 3 in fire, or maybe, well, it would take more than that if we do 100% transport in-source. So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, I understand.
And a
It's
lot
all
of changes that are sea changes. And our population is the same as it was, hasn't moved, plus or minus 500 people in 25 years.
Yeah, but there's a lot more commercial property.
And the need for service has increased.
Yep, that's because we're aging,
Yeah, we do
Aging.
have old people.
yeah, as we age,
We do have old people.
right?
We need to ban old people, starting with me.
So it, hopefully we'll get to a point, but right now, it's somewhat careening out of control on social media, so that isn't the place we're gonna solve.
I'm glad we're having the discussion. I mean, it's the first time, I've only known about this for 6 months, 2 years on the board, there was no discussions about this.
No, never.
Yeah.
Not, yeah,
Well, there was a roadmap that was promised by my predecessor to hire the 9 people and delete HVA. He's put that in writing.
Okay.
But now,
The
we
election-
talked about it,
All right.
now we're talking about it.
The election may have changed that, so.
I think this is great for 2025.
We just gotta be a little bit more
Hold on,
civil.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Could I just add one point?
Yeah.
I think what's important is when this data starts coming in, we have a human element, okay? There's a human element of, we have procedures set in place. The one lady had asked about when a call comes in, how is it triaged and all that? And we're constantly evaluating. We do quality assurance. We check up to see what questions are being asked. But a person calling that doesn't know where they are, or a person that, can't tell us what the problem is, things like that. So there's a human element.
That can
Also-
cause a delay because they don't know where they are, so you have to draw it out of them.
Yeah, so I bring that up because when you're looking at the data, that can be a variable of the data. The other thing is, depending on how many dispatchers are there, if one of the dispatchers, when a call comes in, both dispatchers are listening, one's asking questions, the other one might already be sending the fire department. If that second dispatcher happens to be in the bathroom at the same time, then it's not happening at the same speed.
There's a delay because.
There could be a delay, yeah. So there's a human element that has to be added into that equation too, which is
He's
hard
talking
to.
about one thing, delay in reporting, not delay in getting the service.
No.
But the dispatcher may not have time to log in
To
a
hit the
particular event on the software. So there may be distortions in what the real number is because they had too many things to juggle and they delayed logging it in, but they did the job, but the recording didn't get done.
Yeah, and.
A lag effect.
Or in the example, when there's 20 calls coming in at once, all to report the same incident.
Yes.
And at that time, we'd have to go back and listen to the tapes because they're all timestamped. The radio tapes are timestamped. We'd have to go back and cross-reference it.
Yeah, we staff for the ordinary. We don't staff for the extraordinary. If we had the ice storm where we had to shut down M14, we were getting, I was in the room, the phone's ringing off the hook. Well, we're getting to them when we can get to them, so.
Yeah, if you've ever been at our dispatch center during a storm, it's absolutely amazing what those people do with just 2 people. It's incredible.
So on M14 and 275, 911 sometimes is patched to Michigan State Police. At the Taylor post?
It depends on what tower it goes to, yeah.
All right, so this working group that we have going is a great start to get the baseline of what we're gonna collect, and then after that, we can analyze. Process improvement is what we're working towards.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. For a township that has 4 jurisdictions in it, we have 3 dispatch units.
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
There's
Does
two dispatch centers, Plymouth and Northville Township. And Northville Township handles the city, correct, Chief?
It's done out of nobody, isn't it?
You dispatch
How many
centers, Mr. Stadler?
dispatch units are there for Plymouth Township, Northville Township, City of Plymouth, and City of Northville?
We dispatch for one township.
Okay, and then does Northville do Northville City and Northville Township?
Separate, that's completely separate.
But Northville Township dispatches for Northville City?
There's 2, to answer your question.
2, oh, okay.
2 in a traditional 36 square mile area.
Are we both on the same computer system too?
It's different radio systems. They're on Columbus as well,
They're on the one you guys are talking about?
though. Yeah, they're separate. They're separate systems. So when we can monitor them, but we're not talking in their frequency.
Okay. And why I bring that up is because I'm just comparing apples for apples. Canton, against you guys, but Canton has 1 fire chief. There's 4
A 36 square
in
mile.
36 square miles.
Yeah, there are.
That,
It's a lot of government.
yes, you're right, 3. And so what I'm saying is there's redundancy of the scale of what a normal police or fire department would have, which brings us into how can you compare to where you're going to use, like they did with the things I sent you guys is they're comparing us with Canton, Livonia, Westland. You're gonna do a study and it's not gonna be apples for apples.
And
The
there's
closest
different
study
tax
we could
rates.
do would be comparing to Northville Township, because they're our twin, essentially.
Yes, but their property value and their houses are way different than ours.
And that's very true, because they have a lot more houses than we have. We have commercial, industrial, heavy industrial, light industrial, more
So
than they
they're not
have.
comparable.
They're the closest we have.
Now, and tax rates, for example,
Okay.
the tax rate in Northville Township is 63% above Plymouth Township. In Canton Township, it's 140% of Plymouth Township. And in the city of Plymouth, it's 175%. That's almost triple. So you got to think about that also. Some of these communities are levying a lot more tax.
Tell me about it.
Can I?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think.
hold on, we got to finish public comments, and then we can go to
We
board.
can go right to board then.
But are they done? You guys done? Everybody's done? All right.
Done.
Okay.
Are we done yet? Okay. So this is the comment time for you?
This is
Okay.
my comment time.
All
Okay.
right.
Everybody knows, or most people know, my background. I've been familiar with the fire department and its operations since 1976. We have a lot of people who have great ideas about we should do this, we should do this, we should change the scheduling, we should have one dispatch center. First and foremost, we are all our own individual municipality, and we tried sharing the City of Plymouth Police. We tried sharing Plymouth Township and the City of Plymouth Fire. It did not work because we're always dealing with egos at the top. Everybody wants their own little thing, and they want to run it, and they don't want to share it, and they don't want to tell anyone about it. And all of those issues create other employment issues. Somebody said, we've always been told 8 is enough for firefighters. Who told us that, and what was it based on? And when was that versus now, when we have totally different needs? Somebody said, let's just have HVA take over. We have the best of both worlds, because we have HVA right here, and we have our own fire department. You look around, everybody's talking about other communities. Other communities provide their own firefighter, paramedics, and they do all the transport. We do not. And in order for people to be able to come up with any basic solutions, we need to have somebody who, first and foremost, and this is what I've asked to spearhead, first and foremost, we need to explain how the fire department operates, how HVA operates, why one thing affects another thing, the scheduling, which are 24-hour shifts, and people say, well, hey, we can make them 12-hour shifts. We're going to need double the staff, but people don't understand those things. So all I'm saying is, can we please educate people on how the fire department operates before we start assigning all these committees to come up with all these ideas when they don't know how it operates to begin with? It
Well, and
makes
I
no
think
sense to
You're
me.
making a really great point, and that's why I'm so glad that the firefighters feel comfortable to come in and start talking about what it is that they do and
Right.
educating people. So
But I'm
thank
talking
you for
about
that.
on
the
a flow
whole
chart.
operation. Yes, but I'm talking about the whole operation, the shifts. HVA is having staffing issues. HVA is having paramedic staffing issues. So we can say, well, let's bring HVA in and have them run it. They're running basic units. They're not even meeting what has historically been the protocol or the staffing levels. We have firefighters who are both paramedics. We have 2 paramedics versus a private ambulance that might be 2 EMTs, or it might be a paramedic and an EMT. And then you go back to looking at the Control Authority Board and the way things are determined, and who has the superior medical authority to make the calls on the runs. So all I'm saying is this is so incredibly complex, and we need to first put this information together so people, our citizens, who are ultimately going to make decisions, have the ability to understand why this might work and this might not. And to me, if we have the best of both worlds, and we need to work together, and we need to provide the best level of service to our community, and we need an informed community to make that determination.
Okay, John, do you have any comments?
Yes.
On anything, it's not
Yes.
just
Okay.
fire, police. Well, do you want to go down to the other end then instead, or
Sure.
do you have any comments?
No, it was a good meeting, actually. I kind of stayed quiet, but I learned a lot. I appreciate, we still, obviously, it's not a get solved problem today. We got a lot to think about.
Right.
But, I appreciate the comment very much.
And it sounds like you spearheaded the last campaign and you put all the finances and stuff together. Is
Yeah.
that something you would be interested in helping with
No,
as well, or?
No, we don't want another 40% tax increase.
No, and.
'Cause that's what happened in
And
2018.
we have a
The
finance
public voted
director
for
and a
it.
treasurer.
We didn't do it, the public did.
Okay.
Now, we convinced them.
No,
Okay.
Oh, is it my turn?
Next.
Oh, okay. I said a lot of my board comments in between here, but I will say that I am very thankful that we're actually talking about it. And that's definitely a step in the right direction. I feel like the firefighters feel like this is finally a step in the right direction. So I'm very grateful and thankful for that. I do want to say to Estelle, I think it's really unfortunate about the Facebook. That's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that. I
Can
don't
we get rid of
condone
Facebook?
that.
Can we just ban Facebook
Yeah.
forever?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
good
that's where
idea.
the
It is a
people are.
monster.
But I do sympathize. That's horrible. Another horrible tragedy, I don't know if you guys heard, but Northville Township lost one of their trustees overnight. Did you hear that?
It was on the
Scott
weekend, on
Fresh.
Saturday.
yeah, it's got.
It was on Saturday.
Scott Fresh died suddenly. He was an OLGC parishioner. I was not acquainted with him. Did you know him?
Yeah, I went to high school with Scott, so.
I'm so sorry.
He graduated of Eastern Michigan University, got his master's degree from Notre Dame, and was getting his doctorate in finance from the University of Florida. Accomplished author, really, really great guy, father, most importantly, and has 2 children. So yeah, very sad. Very, very nice, super intelligent man. So it was a great loss for them.
Very sorry to hear that. I don't know. I guess that's it. Thank you.
I don't say anything useful after 10, so. And so I'm gonna just echo some of the comments. I think it is positive that we're having this dialogue because we should have been having it in the past, but we got to be civil to each other when we do, and I need to do my part to ensure that we're all acting like adults in the room, including me. Other than that, just collecting taxes.
Eric?
Yes, I have 2 things I want to talk about, Mr. Supervisor. The first one, I'm not going to talk about.
Okay.
Okay, I've communicated with the board and the attorneys and HR on an issue, and all I'm going to say on it, because I don't think I should talk about it in public, is that I would just like to see some action on that, whether we have some other resource situation discuss
You want
this
to
with
spend
us.
some money on it?
I don't want to spend money on it. What I want to do is maybe we should have a closed session, but I don't want to discuss it in public. I don't think it's appropriate right now, but it's an issue that I brought up, and I just want to see it addressed. The second thing that I want to talk about is since you've taken office here, you've been on a mission of cost cutting and looking at costs, and that's appropriate. But something came to me from you that really kind of concerned me quite a bit. You came into the office and you were concerned about the cost of operating the Veterans Commission, the Environmental Commission, and the Historical Commission. And you were concerned about costs. I don't think there's much cost to that, but you were concerned about it. You asked me you were concerned about having to do the administration part of it. Now, the supervisor's office has always done that, but I said, no, I'll take that on. I don't want that to be an issue to where it causes a problem for those things. You were worried that having to do the minutes was an extreme cost. I don't think it is. I think it's appropriate for us to do professional minutes. You also thought that these commissions were too political, that they weren't serving a proper public service or purpose. Because of that, my concern is, are you looking to defund whatever the little bit there we are, or disband those commissions at all? Or can I have a pledge from you, or can the people have a pledge from you that you're not going to do that?
So you want me to answer that now?
Yes.
All right. For the benefit of the people in here, we pay a recording secretary to come and take the notes at these advisory committees, which are not statutory, they're advisory. Historical Commission might be a little different. So that's what I was saying. Why don't we let the people at the meeting take their own notes and make their own minutes and make their own agendas? Since there is not a major legal, it's not a township commission. We did set it up, and when Kurt Heisey set it up, he said they would have no budget, is what he said. They would have no spending. So that's what I was going by, when he set it up. Pardon? Pardon?
We haven't spent any money on anything.
Well, no, we spend money on labor, but we also spend money on, there are some things we spend money on. The Environmental Commission does spend money. So my judgment is they should be raising their own money, not coming from the township coffers. So that's what I'm talking about, is streamlining. These are dedicated people that are well-educated. They can take their own notes and publish their own minutes. It's not like a planning commission where you have a legal requirement to have minutes in a fashion that is absolutely perfect. So
I will say at our next Veterans Commission meeting in February, I've invited one of the committee members from the Royal Oak Veterans Commission, who will come in and speak about how they obtain sponsorships for any of the events that they put on for the city of Royal Oak, and to honor veterans and recognize them. So we'll be getting feedback from that. I'm absolutely open to doing our own minutes, whatever it takes to keep our Veterans Commission.
So I want it
running.
I want these self-funding machines, and like Bosch sends money to grants, and in the case of the Environmental Commission, we spent a $5,000 grant for a 3-hour event, more than once. So maybe we could use some of that money for other things, that kind of stuff that goes on. So great. Is your husband on the commission in Royal Oak?
He is not, no.
He's not, all right. So.
It's a city councilwoman that's
No,
coming.
I'm not
She's
trying,
also on
I'm
the
trying to
commission.
be smart, not doing things that are detrimental, but these are not mandatory commissions they're nice to have, they're advisory.
And this would have to be by vote?
Well,
because it was signed
I just think
signed
that
in
they
as an
serve a
ordinance.
very
It's an
important
ordinance, but the
public.
ordinance doesn't say that we have to keep the minutes, and the ordinance doesn't say we have to fund it.
I'm talking about disbanding it altogether.
No, I didn't say disband.
Okay. Well,
He
Jerry did,
mentioned,
so.
yeah, he mentioned
Going by what
it.
he said.
I wasn't disbanding it. I said that I wanted them to handle their
Oh, okay.
agendas and their minutes, and they're set up in the room, or putting these things out, whatever.
100% have to
The
do
the
that.
cost for that, Mr. Supervisor, and the public, is very minuscule. This is a $50 million corporation, and for the few dollars that we spend for a professional note taker, because you get a FOIA. Someone FOIAs their minutes, and you want them to look professional, and the cost for that is so minuscule.
Okay, we spend $3,000 or $4,000 a year on it, but
So I'm just
my judgment
concerned.
is I'm willing to take the heat that we are, we're only gonna wash the windows. I'm trying to do that once a year. instead of twice. Save $5,000, whatever, those kinds of things. Newsletter, the newsletter costs $7,500 to put out, 4 times a year. Maybe we'll only do it 3 times or 2 times. We'll rely more on e-news. But we need to look at stuff like that. Stuff that isn't what I call mission critical. Mission critical is the firefighters, the police, the elections, the assessing, the treasury. Those are the mission, the planning commission and engineering. Those are all mission critical. I am not advocating raising taxes, and I think there are ways to, when I say taxes, I'm talking tax rates. We're at 5.1, and I hear every day that people are moving here because they can afford the taxes.
Yeah, but if they found out that their public safety wasn't fully staffed, I think they'd think twice about it.
Well,
Low
I don't
taxes.
know. Yeah, Plymouth City, Jen, they're
We're an
building houses.
affluent community. We shouldn't be attracting people because we have the lowest taxes, but we don't have
We're
the public
affluent
safety
because-
staffed.
We're affluent because we hang on to our money. It's an old-fashioned virtue. The city of Plymouth is building houses that are more than double our average every week. They're pushing $2 million a house. And it's not keeping people from moving there, and they have a paid-on-call system that is far lower level than ours with HVA. I'm not, and don't go away and say Kermie says that's what he wants. I'm saying that's the comparison. So, it's, no, oh, city of Northville, that's even higher rent and higher value. So, I don't think that it's keeping people away, is my point.
But I don't think they know about it, though.
Well, they're highly educated, so they tell me how highly educated they are, so and then we have internet, and you can do the research, so I don't know. They're paying the insurance. I don't know if there's an insurance delta between us and them. But I'm telling you, I've seen people are trying to survive more, and if we want to keep our senior population here, it does have to be affordable, and that's why I'd like to build some affordable single-story ranch style, which we're not getting because nobody can make any money on it.
Land's too expensive.
Yeah, the land's too expensive, plus the construction.
Right.
If you have a 4-story building, anyway. I'm done. Go ahead. Or, John?
It's an honor as the oldest senior citizen up here to have closing statement. All positive. I want to thank the supervisor for not engaging in social media.
Oh, that's really rich.
I have-
When I
I
sat
have,
next to you for 2.5 years, you were on Facebook the whole time.
Please don't
Are
ever-
you
please
serious?
don't ever- I have not, I
He
delete.
was. Literally on Facebook the entire time for 2.5 years.
I have blocked everybody up here, with the exception of fellow council. I don't want to know what they're doing. I'm involved in the community, and that's, somebody just turned the volume up. Yes, I am deeply grateful that the police department, and my cousin's background, and I don't want anything, professionalism and cops are synonymous. And I don't even want to hear about a police officer making a snide remark or taking a cheap shot on social media. I don't even want to hear about it. That's just so below the level of conversation in my family. Secondly, because legislating and litigating by email is inherently defective. When Kevin and I work in a world, and we have been on opposite sides, different parties, we represent different parties. We come together and we have to appear in front of a judge and we have to stipulate as to what the honest facts are. Now, the supervisor also noticed a very good positive point here tonight. Paradigm shift. President Smith and Firefighter Tacoma, you stipulated up here to a hard fact that all Plymouth Township firefighters are certified paramedics. I was really not fully aware of that. So I'm glad that we can come to an understanding, and perhaps Kevin, with our training, perhaps Kevin Bennett should be involved in some of these discussions, negotiations, Because when you have to stand in front of a Judge Jim Garber, you better darn well tell the absolute truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Okay, my third point that does filter down to us. Last week in Lansing, in the state capitol, I was there, and there was a smoldering and latent anger and resentment because of the budget. And those under, I don't know if you know of the term flatlined. The schools were flatlined. They have the same per pupil foundation grant that they had 2 years ago. They were flatlined. The Michigan Municipal League and the Michigan Townships Association were in the state capitol last week too. They were also very angry because of revenue sharing. Now, I'm not exactly sure, because I served with then Representative Whitmer for 6 years, I'm not exactly sure what the governor's got in plan. But today, and last Friday, with the revenue estimating conference in the appropriations room, it was disclosed that there is a 1 point, now you can challenge me on anything I've said here tonight, because I feel like I'm on record with a fellow prosecutor. $1.7 billion surplus at the state. Now, it makes me think of my friend Governor Rick Snyder, who says sometimes we think of the state like an ATM machine. There's going to be a supplemental budget for revenue sharing for townships, revenue sharing for cities, and the school administrators, the teachers, the students, they're all upset. Because what are we doing sitting on a $1.7 billion surplus at the state level when we live off that? Even the director, the colonel of the state police got involved and said, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? We have some more needs to supply. So you can go to the bank on that. $1.7 billion surplus in the state budget right now. It's an $83 billion annual budget.
Sounds like they're overtaxing us.
Well, they can do a tax cut too and put it back in our pocket. But
Cut the income tax.
okay, thank you very much.
Want to make a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I'm
Second.
I'm second. All in favor?
Aye.